Chapter 826, Familiarity caused by inspecting the spoils. Little Mo Gu needed a long time to calm his excitement before he started to carefully examine his spoils. Naturally, the first prize he took as the weaving girl's shuttle. Zhuo Mo was curious about the supposed greatest Shin device raiment of Tian Huan. While he was the inventor of Shin device raiments, he was still very curious about the Shin device raiments from other factions. Tian Huan and Kunlun were many times richer than he was. Zhuo Mo never thought that he was the most ingenious person in the world. Those as powerful as Lin Qian were the ones that really dazzled the eyes. Even the deceased Shi Ziming was someone he could only look up to. He flipped the weaving girl's shuttle and looked carefully. He was a professional. After examining for a few moments, he had to sigh at the cleverness in the design of the weaving girl's shuttle. The weaving girl's shuttle was made from countless formations of various sizes. Tian Huan had pushed seal formations to its limits. The design reminded Zhuo Mo of the formation forts that Mo Cloud Sea frequently used. They were made from seal formations crisscrossed and interlinked together. Yet the skill needed to shove the same seals from the forts into the little weaving girl's shuttle was astounding. Even someone as skilled in formations as Zhuo Mo thought he would not be able to accomplish such a task. Yet at the core of weaving girl's shuttle was a Shin glyph. It was the first time Zhuo Mo saw Shin glyphs and seal formations merged together so perfectly. One wrapped around another, as exquisite as it could be. As expected of Tian Huan. Zhuo Mo sighed repeated as he inspected the pseudo-Shin device. It had been very long since something had shocked him so greatly. The forging skill in the weaving girl's shuttle was extremely high, and the forger's understanding of seal formation was almost incomprehensible. Who forged the weaving girl's shuttle? Zhuo Mo suddenly raised his head to ask Li Xian'er. Li Xian'er cooperatively answered, Chief Elder. She had a clear understanding of her situation. At this time, being proud and uncooperative would only bring her trouble. What eased her worries slightly was that Zhuo Mo did not seem to be interested in her. As expected, Zhuo Mo made a sound of acknowledgement and turned his head back to study the weaving girl's shuttle. Zhuo Mo was familiar with the core members of Tian Huan, an enemy of Mo Cloud Sea. Chief Elder's status in Tian Huan was unsurpassable. Before he discovered Shin glyphs, many disciples didn't even know he existed. It was rare to see someone enter seclusion for decades in a restless and warring era. So it was that old guy. Zhuo Mo realized. His eyes became even more heated and he looked even more closely. Li Xian'er suddenly had a feeling that Zhuo Mo was extremely similar to those people from Tian Huan that were obsessed with forging. Her gaze turned to land on Agui. Agui noticed Li Xian'er's gaze and only glanced once before shifting back to focus completely on Zhuo Mo. Li Xian'er knew that while Agui didn't even look at her, if she tried to make a move at all, Agui would unhesitatingly kill her where she stood. The rainbow light that Zhuo Mo had put into her body had froze almost all of her Shin power. She thought for a long time. This light seemed to be similar to the legendary soul-setting divine light. She found this was hard to believe. Soul-setting divine light, this thing of the legends actually existed and it was in Zhuo Mo's hands. This guy. She remained silent and thought inside. The sect really stumbled this time. They had had too smooth of a journey recently, and this had caused all of the sect to reckless and impatient. The sect's opinion of Mo Cloud Sea had still been too low. Including her, all of Tian Huan had the same thoughts. All of them thought that the reason that Mo Cloud Sea was so powerful was because Tian Huan had not paid attention to them. If Tian Huan paid attention, Mo Cloud Sea wouldn't have a chance at all. The situation developed as everyone had thought. When Tian Huan started to fight back, Mo Cloud Sea was immediately put in a reactive state. Mo Cloud Sea had too many weaknesses. The alliance with Shi Xian was the final blow to kill Mo Cloud Sea. If this plan was completed, Mo Cloud Sea would be dead. Yet this time, they stumbled greatly. Other than Zhong De's unexpected choice to side with Mo Cloud Sea, the magnitude of Mo Cloud Sea's explosive reaction under threat was unimaginable. She could see too many problems. She and the other sect elites were strong on paper, but when they actually fought, the difference in experience immediately showed. The enemy was vicious, hardy, and fearless. All of this was beyond her imagination. In comparison, Tianhuan's elites were like flowers grown in the greenhouse. Beautiful, but could not withstand the harsh wind. This caused Li Xian'er to feel very uncomfortable, but when she thought of her captive state, she had to admit this was true. Deep in thought, Zhuo Mo was exceptionally focused. He seemed to have forgotten the terrible environment of the Abyss Fine Jail. The Weaving Girl's shuttle seemed to have opened a new window for Zhuo Mo. Tianhuan had survived for thousands of years, and naturally had their unique traits. In Zhuo Mo's eyes, Chief Elder was a true grandmaster. If Kunlun's Shen power was said to be influenced by Zhuo Mo, Tianhuan's Shen power was a completely new system. Chief Elder's focused study of Shen glyphs for decades had developed a completely new system on top of Tianhuan's original system. This system was extremely valuable as reference. A long time later, Zhuo Mo finally broke free of the Sea of Seal formations. His face had a rare expression of tiredness. The packed seal formations and the core Shen glyphs were exquisite and clever. Zhuo Mo spent great energy to understand them. Even as powerful as he was, he felt tired. However, his eyes were as bright as stars as they flashed with a bright light. He finally understood the secret of the Weaving Girl's shuttle. He was filled with respect towards by the chief elder of Tianhuan, who he had never met before. Shen glyph. Tianhuan cultivated using Shen glyphs. He had heard this before, but he had never understood how their system worked. Only after seeing the Weaving Girl's shuttle did he completely understand. Tianhuan's Shen power came from Shen glyphs. A Shen glyph that could produce Shen power. There was such a Shen glyph on the Weaving Girl's shuttle that would constantly produce Shen power. One portion of the Shen power was stored, and another seemed to be used for Li Xian'er's daily cultivation. Li Xian'er definitely had a similar Shen glyph inside her body. The two glyphs resonated with each other, and could create wondrous effects. Of course, the construction of Weaving Girl's shuttle was more clever than stated, but there was nothing different in terms of the fundamental principle. Zhuo Mo suddenly went forward and grabbed Li Xian'er's hand. Li Xian'er was startled. Her expression changed slightly. Was he? A smile suddenly rose on Zhuo Mo's lips. The smile grew and grew until it turned into roaring laughter. So it's like this, so it's like this. Hearing Zhuo Mo's words to himself, Li Xian'er's heart landed back on ground, yet she seemed to realize the meaning of Zhuo Mo's words and her expression changed. No, it was not so simple, Li Xian'er comforted herself. Gradually, she gradually calmed down. It was not so easy. There were so many disciples in the sect, but how many saw the meaning? Even she, who was peerless in talent, spent so much time to understand Shen glyphs. When she thought of Chief Elder, she immediately calmed. Chief Elder would definitely have a solution. Zhuo Mo sank into ecstasy. He didn't just finally understand why Li Xian'er's Shen power was stronger than his, this completely new system created by Chief Elder gave him sparks of inspiration. He even had quite a few good ideas that he could use in further forging. More importantly, he thought of a wondrous idea. This Shen glyph was not something that average materials could withstand. It could be seen from the Weaving Girl's shuttle that all of it was made up of valuable materials. Also, the Weaving Girl's shuttle only had this one Shen glyph. It could not hold a second one. Also, the reason that a portion of Shen power was channeled into Li Xian'er's body wasn't just to help Li Xian'er cultivate, but because the Weaving Girl's shuttle could not tolerate the full amount of Shen power that the Shen glyph produced. But Zhuo Mo had a perfect medium, the Sun Crystal Seed. It could definitely hold this Shen glyph. Zhuo Mo suspected that there could be similar Shen glyph inside the Sun Crystal Seed, but he had just not discovered it yet. But no matter what, Zhuo Mo was excited by today's discoveries. Coming out of the Weaving Girl's shuttle, Zhuo Mo did not continue to study it. This was not a good place to study. He carefully put the Weaving Girl's shuttle back into his ring. A treasure like this could not be lost. He started to inspect his other spoils of war. Li Xian'er was the first of the 4 seats, and what she had was naturally valuable. Zhuo Mo was kept in a state of excitement. Treasures flowed through his hand, each one causing his eyes to flash with the light of Jingshi. Suddenly, something at the corner of the ring attracted Zhuo Mo's attention. Zhuo Mo curiously picked it up. It was a very common-looking paper crane, a pink little 1,000 paper crane. Paper cranes like this were commonly used for wishes, however. Zhuo Mo suddenly felt that this paper crane seemed familiar to the eye. He was puzzled. Why would he have this strange sense of familiarity? So strange. Zhuo Mo muttered inside as he unconsciously unfolded the 1,000 paper crane. 3 twisted words entered his eyes. "Yell wait for you." Zhuo Mo immediately turned to stone. He finally remembered why he found this thing familiar. Little Mo Gu froze where he stood. The 3 words made him feel unusually awkward. A distant memory floated out of his mind. He had never thought that he, and that horrid paper crane girl would meet once again. And that malicious and spoiled paper crane girl was Li Xian'er. His expression became strange. "Hey! How can you touch other people's things?" Li Xian'er's expression became slightly panicked. For the first time, she was not calm. Seeing Zhuo Mo motionless as though he was focused, Li Xian'er suppressed her panic and said with deliberate calmness, "It is a private message, there is nothing secret there." Private message? Whose private message? Thinking of what he endured in the past, Zhuo Mo was actually not angry. While the paper crane girl had been horrid and he had been very unhappy back then, he had experienced many things since and forgotten this minor matter. It was just the prank of a bored little girl. If he hadn't seen this paper crane from the past, he would not have remembered at all. But it was still very awkward. Chapter 827, Yang Yuanhao's decision. Zhuo Mo turned around with a serious expression. After a moment of silence, he said a sentence. Cough, so my writing was this ugly before. Pooh, he didn't say this well, guess presence was weak. Zhuo Mo mocked himself, but his words did cause his awkwardness to reduce greatly. Li Xian'er suddenly froze. She looked in disbelief at Zhuo Mo as though she saw a ghost. In the past, you really tormented me terribly. Cough, and now karma turns back to haunt you. I hadn't ever thought that you would actually end up in Yes hands, mwahahaha. After his embarrassment faded, Zhuo Mo immediately became smug as though he had achieved a great victory over Li Xian'er. However, he did not have any hateful feelings towards Li Xian'er, but had some warm feelings instead. His time at Wukong Sword Mountain was probably one of the most carefree times in his life. Li Xian'er was still gaping with wide eyes as she stared at Zhuo Mo. She couldn't speak for a while. Zhuo Mo laughed while gesturing to the crane. Don't worry, just based on our past relationship, I will not do anything to you. When your Tianhuan envoys come, I will release you after we negotiate. Then he turned and said to Agui. Agui, take her. We're leaving. Agui nodded and then carried Li Xian'er. Zhuo Mo brought Sherpei as they left the Abyss Fiend jail. They met up with Zhongde. Everyone had expressions of joy when they saw Li Xian'er. Now they had more bargaining chips. Their strategic plan had a higher chance of success. Zhongde's plan was full of temptation. But there were so many problems it was hair-raising to think about. For Zhuo Mo, taking so many jia at once was an enormous task in times of peace, much less times of war. If they were the slightest bit careless, they could lose it all. After everyone was happy for a while, Zhongde bid farewell. He had much work to do. The death of the sect leader needed an explanation. At this moment, what was most important was the stability of Xixian. No matter how strong Zhongde was, he just had 1 battalion. If Xixian fell into chaos, then the situation would become terrible. And the families that were willing to follow him or Gu Yangdao had to be arranged for their move into their new boundaries. This was a vast and complex process. Mo Cloud C. When Zhuo Mo's message was received, all of the higher ranks in Mo Cloud Sea erupted. Heavens, that was 300 jie. Everyone was astounded by this plan. Everyone was filled with respect towards Suemo. As expected of boss. He went out on a stroll, invested nothing, and gained 300 jie. Even Bihan's expression became slightly discontent. He had dragged Tang Fei, Ma Fan, and many of the others to fight until even Sin Battalion was crippled to just conquer 45 jie. But Suemo, he went out for a trip, and more than 300 jie came into his possession. And it was the other side that was begging him to accept it for next to nothing in return. The difference between people was so great. Other than Bihan, who started to reflect on the value of being a battle general versus being a black-hearted business person, all of the higher ranks in Mo Cloud Sea were cheering. Soon, under Gong Sun Cha's command, all the departments started to move furiously to prepare to accept more than 300 jie. Everyone knew that this would be a mission unprecedented in scale. This would likely be the largest and greatest transfer of territory in the history of the shoujo world. Resources, battalions, manpower, they were quickly gathered. In a shockingly short amount of time, Mo Cloud Sea had finished its preparations. Other than Zuemo and Gu Yongdao, no one knew of Zhong De's intentions. No one would think that there would be a madman that would hand over 300 jie for free. But the movement inside Zuemo and Gu Yongdao's territories still set off the wariness of many factions. The gathering of battalions, the preparations of resources. Officials were constantly being summoned to Cloud Sea Jie. All the signs pointed to the two having some great action coming up. If someone was ignorant, they would think that the two were preparing to fight each other, but anyone with common knowledge knew that the alliance between Zuemo and Gu Yongdao was unbreakable. They had not heard of any conflict between the two sides, so it was not possible the two were about to start fighting. Then there was only one possibility: the two sides were going to team up. Who would be the target? Kunlun, Tianhuan, Mo Shen Temple and others immediately became nervous. If Mo Cloud Sea and Gu Yongdao allied together, to speak of nothing else, their offensive power could not be dismissed. The probability of Bihan fighting was low, but one could not forget that Mo Cloud Sea still had Gongsun Lil Miss that ranked 4th among the 10 great battle generals. His Vermilion Bird camp was also complete and whole. Gu Yongdao was astounding powerful himself and ranked 5th. 1. If the two battle generals ranked 4th and 5th teamed up, this would be such a strong pairing that even Kunlun would feel threatened. Also nervous was the 9 Great Diana sect. Many people were thinking about whether their recent actions had angered Mo Cloud Sea, and now it was time to settle the score. Yang Yuanhao was not nervous at all. He was experienced and he had an understanding of Zuemo. With this guy's personality, if he planned to wage war on someone, he would definitely not leak anything beforehand. This one was faithful sneak attacker. Fighting openly was not his style at all. While he did not know what Zuemo and Gu Yongdao wanted to do, he was sure that they were not preparing to start a war with someone. He did not struggle over this question. He knew clearly that as long as the 9 Great Diana sect did not completely side with Kunlun or Tianhuan, Mo Cloud Sea would not act against the 9 Great Diana sects. He had been considering the sect leaders' words these past days. Previously, he had assumed that Mo Cloud Sea could not stop Tianhuan's attacks, but now, he suddenly believed that Mo Cloud Sea had reversed the situation. Something definitely happened. Yang Yuanhao perceptively realized Mo Cloud Sea's silent change. If Mo Cloud Sea reversed the situation, then Mo Cloud Sea would undoubtedly be the best to side with. It was time to make a decision. Yang Yuanhao stood up. When Zuemo received the paper crane from the sect leader of Thunder Sound Temple, he was astounded. The sect leader clearly expressed their willingness to join Mo Cloud Sea's territory in the paper crane. Other than the message from Thunder Sound Temple, a letter from Lotus Sutra Temple arrived as well. The two had clearly communicated in secret beforehand. Zuemo was not too surprised by Lotus Sutra Temple's decision. They had burned their bridges with Kunlun and Tianhuan. If they wanted to survive, they had to side with a large faction. But little Mo Gu was very surprised by Thunder Sound Temple's action. Thunder Sound Temple wasn't just the head of the 9 great Diana sects, it possessed a powerful battle general Yang Yuanhao. Their own strength was not something to be dismissed. Had his words last time been effective? Zhuo Mo muttered inside. Zhuo Mo did not immediately reply but started to think carefully. He was not completely stunned dumb by what had dropped on his head from the sky. Thunder Sound Temple and Lotus Sutra Temple's allegiance had benefits and detriments. What was good was that Mo Cloud C's strength would increase again. Mo Cloud C's strength would undoubtedly reach another peak after adding a top battle general like Yang Yuanhao. But there were also detriments. If the news that Thunder Sound Temple and Lotus Sutra Temple siding with Mo Cloud C became public, the 9 great Diana sects would immediately collapse and cease to exist. The sects would quickly divide when they felt a threat to their survival, each of them seeking a route to survival. There were only 3 choices, Mo Cloud C, Tian Huan, and Kun Luan. Zhuo Mo had thought of the 9 great Diana sects as a barrier, a buffer. If the situation changed, the alliance of the 9 great Diana sects dissolved, then this barrier would also disappear. Mo Cloud C would have territory directly bordering Kun Luan and Tian Huan. The pressure would immediately increase. After thinking for a long time, Zhuo Mo replied to the sect leader of Thunder Sound Temple. He expressed that he welcomed them and also promised that Yang Yuanhao's battalion would receive the same benefits as Vermilion Bird Camp and Sin Battalion. But he told them to temporarily keep it a secret and for Yang Yuanhao's battalion to prepare. Zhuo Mo thought of the plan he formed in Zhong De's tent. If Thunder Sound Temple joined Mo Cloud C, then it meant that they did not need to find a way to sneak battalions to Tian Huan's rear. Yang Yuanhao battalion would only need to attack at an opportune time, and Tian Huan would immediately panic. They could easily cleave the wedge-shaped area from Tian Huan's map. Also, this was not a good time to split up the 9 great Diana sects. Zhuo Mo was full of spirit. Thunder Sound Temple that had come to him was a great bargaining chip to add to his hand. He was even more confident. After taking care of these matters, he threw himself back into his study of the Weaving Girls shuttle. Tian Huan's unique system inspired him. If he could completely study it, it would be of great help to him to perfect Mo Cloud C's system. Tian Huan's study of the Shen glyphs were more advanced than Mo Cloud C. He did not avoid Li Xian Air when he studied the Weaving Girls shuttle. Right now, Li Xian Air was a treasure in his hand, a crucial piece of his plan, and no accidents were allowed. Supposedly, Tian Huan's envoy was about to arrive but Zhuo Mo knew that Tian Huan would not give up on trying to rescue Li Xian Air. There were countless pairs of eyes staring at them from the shadows. In order to stop a cooked duck from flying away, Zhuo Mo kept Li Xian Air close by. Agui, Wei Sheng, Tseng Lianer, Zhong Ru, and the others formed a perimeter. Zhong De's Abyss Fiend Jail Battalion formed a larger encirclement on the outside. It was so heavily guarded that not even a fly could go in. Only now could Zhuo Mo have the peace of mind to ponder Tian Huan's Shen glyphs. Li Xian Air could not describe her feelings right now. That paper crane represented her childhood memories. Every time she thought back to it, she would smile. Theoretically, this should have been just a minor incident in her life, however, she always had feelings of reminiscence towards that faraway unknown victim. She had not thrown away that paper crane and left it in the ring as a memento. Maybe it was the other's rebelliousness and hardiness that had left a deep imprint on her. When she had grown up, she would frequently reflect that her prank back then had crossed a line. It was hard to see such an indescribable presence around her. Those people around here were elegant and gentle, they were full of talent, their conduct and speech were flawless. But they did not have that spirit. But that playmate from her youth was actually Zhuo Mo. She was in a daze for a few days. 1. Wandering Yumi of Doom, my notes have 5th as Yang Yuanhao from Thunder Sound Temple. No one identified for 6th, FX could have made a mistake or Yang Yuanhao and Gu Yang Dao are tied for 5th. Also just to remind everyone of this little FX journey in writing, Li Xian'er, disciple of Tianhuan, granddaughter of Tianhuan's sect leader, member of the Four Seats. First appears in Chapter 7, where she sends a pink paper crane to Zhuo Mo thinking that the crane is a normal 1,000-paper crane. Zhuo Mo responds antagonistically, and starts a strange long-distance abusive relationship with the mystery crane girl. On several occasions Zhuo Mo nearly dies due to her antics. She later appears in Chapter 659, where she is sent to negotiate with Marshal De, but is later sent to deal with Xiao Mo Gu. It is later revealed in Chapter 700 the alliance between Marshal De and Tianhuan will likely be cemented through marriage. These plans are thrown into disarray as a result of the dawn of the Shin era. In the Shin era, she becomes the most talented member of the younger generation, is appointed the leader of the Four Seats, and owner of the Weaving Girls Shuttle. She agrees to become a hostage in a risky mission for the sake of the sect, and is later appointed as the next sect leader of Tianhuan by her grandfather. Chapter 828, Gap Li Xian'er looked at Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo seemed to be possessed as he caressed the Weaving Girls Shuttle with his hands day and night. He completely forgot himself. Li Xian'er felt slightly ashamed. She had the Weaving Girls Shuttle for such a long time, but never treated or studied it so seriously. Everyone else had become used to Zhuo Mo when he became like this. Sometimes, Zhuo Mo would suddenly stop, a ball of fire would erupt from his hand, and then he would silently throw things into it. Li Xian'er could see that Zhuo Mo definitely had some kind of understanding, and he was experimenting. Then, accidents would occur. Explosions, thick smoke, toxic mist. Li Xian'er's heart beat wildly as she watched, but when she looked around, everyone else was calm. They were meditating, practicing the sword, chanting sutras. They looked as though they were used to events like this. This group of people. Li Xian'er suddenly had a strange feeling that this group of people were really a group of freaks. This was not the first time she observed Zhuo Mo, but this was the first time she observed the rest of the group from Mo Cloud Sea at such a close distance. The feeling they gave her was unspeakably strange. Yet, after a period of exposure, Li Xian'er had a different feeling. This group was hardworking, exceptionally hardworking. They were always cultivating. They never wasted a moment of time. Other than seeing Tseng Lianer occasionally sipping and savoring tea, everyone else was cultivating except when they were resting. There were even a few that she never saw resting. This kind of mad cultivation state produced a pressure hard to describe that almost suffocated her. Suddenly, a terrifying thought appeared in her mind. If all of Mo Cloud Sea was like this, then it would be terrifying. When a person talked about Mo Cloud Sea, they could not avoid discussing the string of miracles in its short history. This string of miracles created the now prosperous and strong Mo Cloud Sea. Many people though that Mo Cloud Sea's success could not be copied. They were the blessed of the heavens. Their accomplishments could not be separated from their luck. Li Xian'er had been influenced by this way of thinking. Yes, when one looked back at Mo Cloud Sea's rise, they had a powerful and wondrous luck. But when she was in close contact with them for multiple days, her way of thinking was completely upended. Yes. Mo Cloud Sea's rise could not be copied, but not because of luck, but that it would be impossible to get a group of people like this, each full of talented and outrageously hard-working. Before this, Li Xian'er thought that she was hard-working. And in reality, in Tianhuan, she was very hard-working, but today, she learned that there was still a gap when compared to this group of freaks from Mo Cloud Sea. The luck of Mo Cloud Sea now seemed like an eruption of potential, unearthed by hard work, each time they had been forced to the precipice. The hard work of this group of people reached a harsh level. It was not strange if it was one person, but a whole crowd being so strict made people feel terror. This stirred Li Xian'er greatly. She realized for the first time just how terrifying the enemy they were facing was. Of everyone, the one she paid the most attention to was Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo was the master of Mo Cloud Sea. He decided the present and future of Mo Cloud Sea, and an important enemy of Tianhuan. Also, she had some special emotions towards Zhuo Mo. She really was great. A random little thousand crane had managed to leave the famed master of Mo Cloud Sea so disheveled. A smile floated at the corner of Li Xian'er's mouth. However, very soon, she was unable to smile because she saw the crude work on Zhuo Mo's hand. It was a very rough and irregular object. And it was mostly made out of low-quality materials like bronze, and she had watched him add many other kinds of materials. For other sects, forging was a production method, but for Tian Huan, it was an important method of cultivation. Increasing understanding of forging and seal formation to increase one's control of Ling and Shen power was a method unique to Tian Huan. This was also why Tian Huan had a near monopoly of the talisman business in the Shoujo world. Every single member of the sect was skilled in forging. This was what was most scary. Li Xian'er was one of the best among them and naturally great in skill. She was ranked first or second among the young disciples. But seeing Zhuo Mo forge was a great blow to her. At the start, the golden-colored fire in Zhuo Mo's hand did not attract her attention until Li Xian'er realized that any material that was thrown into the flame would immediately turn to liquid. Then she started to pay attention. When she did, she found that this extraordinary nature of the golden flames. Shen flame. That was a Shen flame. A flame had to surpass 10th grade and also needed Shen power to produce it before it could be called a Shen fire. In all of Tian Huan, only Chief Elder had a Shen flame. Chief Elder's Shen glyph heaven fire was a Shen flame. Other than this, no one else in the enormous Tian Huan had a Shen fire. Even Li Xian'er only had a 9th grade, charming beauty. This pink beautiful flame was a great treasure that Tian Huan had spent great effort to find. Shen flame, Zhuo Mo possessed a Shen flame. She was stunned speechless, especially when she saw Zhuo Mo's movements were unorthodox and without any kind of elegance or beauty. A strange feeling of unease filled her heart when she saw this. Yet, Zhuo Mo's unique movements, unqualified and lacking in any beauty, did not affect his forging ability. Zhuo Mo's movements were unusually accurate, so accurate that even Li Xian'er, a Tian Huan disciple, felt embarrassed of herself. However, Li Xian'er did not have time to feel ashamed at this time. She stared at the rough object on Zhuo Mo's hand. It was crude, irregular, and ugly. But Li Xian'er's gaze was fixed on it, and unable to move away. Shock spread through her mind. Weaving Girl's shuttle. She actually felt an aura similar to that of Weaving Girl's shuttle on that ugly object. The strong blow caused her to lose her mind and she exclaimed, "This is not possible." Almost at the same time, everyone opened their eyes and looked in shock at the rough object in Zhuo Mo's hands. They felt any extremely weak vibration of Shen power from this crude object that seemed to be breathing. Zhuo Mo once again had a smug expression. Tian Huan's Shen glyph lives up to its reputation. What he had gained in these recent days almost surpassed Zhuo Mo's imagination. The Weaving Girl's shuttle was Tian Huan's masterwork, and contained large amounts of Tian Huan's most secret seal formations and a Shen glyph. Zhuo Mo knew the value of these things. Once he absorbed these formations and Shen glyphs, Mo Cloud Sea's forging level would tangibly rise a level in a very short amount of time. Its value could not be measured. In Zhuo Mo's hand was only a rough work, but it showed Zhuo Mo's understanding of Tian Huan's Shen glyphs. "It has Shen power vibrations?" Wei Sheng asked curiously. "Yes, copied from Tian Huan's Shen device, this thing can produce Shen power. It is very interesting," Zhuo Mo explained. "It can produce Shen power on its own?" Tseng Lianer immediately became excited. Born Mo, Tseng Lianer had an obsessive pursuit of power. Once she heard that this could produce Shen power, she was like a shark that had found a prey. "Can people use it?" "Yes." Zhuo Mo nodded. "Tian Huan uses it like that. However, I need more time to completely understand it." "Oh, Tian Huan." Tseng Lianer turned to look at Li Xian'er. That gaze was filled with meaning and caused Li Xian'er's hairs to stand. Soon, everyone moved their attention away. They started to cultivate and meditate again. The crude object suddenly exploded into powder. The low-level materials could not withstand Shen power. Even the tiniest bit of Shen power would turn the materials into dust. Mo did not care. A jade scroll appeared in his hand and he furiously recorded down what he learned. After he finished recording, Mo closed his eyes and finally relaxed. After focusing to study day and night, he was tired. As he rested, he habitually thought back to his arrangements in his mind. Suddenly, his heart jumped. He opened his eyes. How could he have forgotten such an important thing? There is something important I missed. Mo said gravely. Everyone opened their eyes and they looked at Mo. Zhongda's safety is related to our victory or defeat. If Tianhuan attacks Zhongda, we will be in a reactive state. Mo's expression was grave. The joy at capturing Li Xian Air and learning the Shen glyph of the Weaving Girl's shuttle almost caused him to make a fatal mistake. With their present strength, the Tianhuan experts would not have any hope of capturing Li Xian Air from them. But if they targeted Zhongda, it would not be good. Zhongda had the protection of his army, but if the other was decisive and ruthless enough and would send enough experts to their deaths, they had the ability to sneak into the base and assassinate Zhongda. Zhongda still lacked the protection of a top expert. While this was not enough to be a fatal blow at any other time, but at this crucial moment, this would put them back where they started. And if something happened to Zhongda, the good situation they had managed to negotiate would be ruined. Everyone's expressions became grave. Wei Xing stood and said, "I'll go." Mo sighed in relief. "Please, I'll trouble Shixiang. Shixiang, no matter what, do not leave Zhongda's side." "All right." Wei Xing did not waste words. He turned and left. Mo completely relaxed. Eldest Shixiang was a man of his word. If he made a promise, no matter what happened, he would definitely not leave Zhongda. With the protection of eldest Shixiang, and the numerous battalions surrounding Zhongda, Tianhuan would not have a chance. Li Xian Air's heart immediately sank. She had noticed Mo's mistake as well. If Tianhuan could take down Zhongda, they could turn defeat into victory. While Mo had seemed smug, she hadn't expected him to not forget himself. Of course she knew of Wei Xing. The strongest of Mo Cloud Sea, and accepted by the public as a genius that could match Lin Qian. He started as a sword servant and struggled his way up step by step. Wei Xing was a determined person, his resolve was made of steel. He was the idol of all sword shio other than Kunlun. With a person like this guarding Zhongda, and with the fearless Abyss Jail Battalion to support him, the possibility of taking down Zhongda was minuscule even in theory. Mo felt some lingering fear. His mistake had almost cost them everything. He became wary. For some reason, he kept on feeling a kind of danger. After a moment thought, he decided to make his move first. He communicated with Gongsun Cha. Start the plan. Chapter 829, Counterattack, Be Alert. Zhou Fan scolded the guards. Looking at the sky full of snow and the howling wind, he felt slightly anxious. The Clear Sea storehouse that he guarded was an important resource base for Tianhuan. It had countless materials that had been transported from all over. They would be packed onto ships here, and be transported to their destinations. These were mostly mid-level and low-level materials. The types and amounts were astounding, and due to this, the scale of the storehouse was also astounding. This was Tianhuan's material transportation hub. Its importance to Tianhuan could not be described. Due to this, there was a whole battalion stationed at Clear Sea Storehouse. Other than this, there were also many experts protecting this place. However, a few days ago, the ringmaster that was guarding Clear Sea Storehouse had left with 3 of their strongest experts, saying that they had an important mission. The careful Zhou Fan felt slightly anxious. Clear Sea Storehouse was at its weakest. If the enemy attacked at this time. This thought caused his heart to shudder, but he then shook his head. It was unlikely. Mo Cloud Sea was being completely suppressed by Tianhuan. They were in a panic and did not have the energy to deal with Tianhuan. Also, in such terrible weather, it was impossible to travel. Clear Sea Jia was a world of wind and snow. In a year, about 9/10 of the days were filled with wind and snow. Also, the wind and snow were so strong that this place was a world of ice and death. Those that could survive here were all powerful ice-type Yao beasts. The transportation fleets also had a hard time traveling in this kind of weather. Normal Xiuzhou would not be able to fly and travel in this kind of weather. The wind and snow would tear them to pieces. But the position of Clear Sea Jia was so important that, without any other Jia around, people had to pass through here. This kind of snowstorm was rare to see, and it really helped him greatly right now. While he thought this, Zhou Fan still increased the guard patrols on the storehouse. His gaze swept across the packed Jinji. Much of his anxiousness dissipated. There were so many Jinji here, it was a fortress. Zhou Fan was only a silver battle general, but he was careful, reliable, and worthy of trust, so he had been sent to guard the Clear Sea storehouse. His battalion was much larger than normal battalions and had been built according to the standards of a gold battle general. Suddenly, Zhou Fan's gaze focused. There was a blue figure flickering in and out of view in the wind and snow. Zhou Fan's heart suddenly rose into the air. There were 3 defensive lines in front. How had this person come in? A strong feeling of danger filled his mind. His expression changed as he shouted, "Enemy attack!" The storehouse immediately descended into chaos, the sounds of alarms going off and Jinji lighting up. The entire storehouse seemed to wake up from a sleep and was covered in a pressuring light. The guards moved into the Jinji, each of them with nervous expressions as though they faced a great enemy. The blue figure came closer. The furious wind and snow seemed to be nothing. Among the snowstorm, a blue figure gradually became clear. A beautiful figure that moved with an umbrella and was filled with an ethereal beauty. A woman. Zhou Fan's pupils suddenly contracted, and a strong feeling of danger rose. A woman appearing out of such strong snowstorm. This was not a good sign. The other's level of danger did not need to be stated. All Jinji, prepare to attack. Zhou Fan decisively ordered. In the wind and snow, Lan gazed at the distant fortress, the 2 ice blue crystals at the eye holes of her face mask lighting up slightly. After 10,000 years, she once again stood on the battlefield. Her icy heart suddenly became excited. The totem sleeping among the incense of the Shin temple was so lonely. A totem's home should be the battlefield. Born in the tribe, powerful, becoming the totem, experiencing countless years' worship and reverence. They led the tribe in times of danger, protected the tribe, fought for the tribe, never abandoning the tribe, for the glory of the tribe. The glory of a totem. The distant and faded glory would once again spread the name of Lan. The hand around the ice umbrella tightened and Lan's figure disappeared from the wind and snow. Careful! Zhou Fan's pupils shrank again as he roared. Boom! An enormous explosion, and the snow that had accumulated on the ground exploded. A wall of snow dozens of zhang tall rose and then swept towards the storehouse. In this moment, countless beams of light sprouted out of the fortress. Almost unconsciously, all the guards unhesitatingly activated the Jinji. All kinds of light rained down on the wall of snow. The snow wall immediately split into pieces. The wild flows of air and the snow mixing together causing snow to fly into the air. It was white everywhere they looked. Not good. Zhou Fan's heart jumped. Before he could respond, a blue figure flashed at the corner of his eye. Bling bling bling. Like hail raining down and tearing through the leaves of the banana tree, the light shield nearby shattered immediately. Pew pew pew. Pillars of blood shot up. Before they could land on the ground, they were frozen into droplets of ice by the cold air and was swept up with the wind and snow. The guards widened their eyes, a chill spreading through their bodies. In a blink, they turned into people of ice. They fell down face forward, pia, and shattered. The wind and snow they had relied on had become the great boon for the enemy. Ice spikes shot out of the wind and snow. These ice spikes possessed astounding power. Even the defensive light shield of Clear Sea Storehouse could not withstand a single blow. Several figures were rapidly moving to the third defensive position. Zhuo Fan was slightly reassured. These people were usually very proud. Fortunately, they did not mess up at important times. Third position. Zhuo Fan shouted. Prepare the sky lock. As he finished, countless seal scripts suddenly flew out of the depths of the storehouse and quickly flew into the sky. In a blink, a circle of light appeared in the sky above the storehouse. The light circle was over 10 li in diameter and countless bright seal scripts flowed endlessly. The sky lock was one of the Clear Sea Warehouse's strongest jinji. It was for facing experts, especially Shin power experts. The enemy's strength was unfathomable and was definitely a Shin power expert. This definitely was not good news for Zhuo Fan. Right now, the development of jinji had fallen behind. The jinji that could match Shin power experts were rare. However, due to the importance of Clear Sea Storehouse's location, there were jinji set up here that could be used against Shin power exerts. This was Sky Lock. If those people could delay the enemy, the Sky Lock would be able to restrain the enemy. Several figures quickly engaged the enemy in battle. With Zhuo Fan's strength, he could only see several gray figures and one blue figure flashing around. The lock is set. The subordinate said joyfully. Attack! Zhuo Fan unhesitatingly ordered. The circle of light suddenly contracted. It descended from the sky, its target lawn. The wind and snow seemed to suddenly stop. This was the first time Shuang Yu was working with Gongsun Cha. It was a strange feeling. He had to admit that Gongsun Cha's preparations had been very detailed, so detailed that it was beyond his imagination. While they were both among the 10 great battle generals, Gongsun Cha and Gu Liang Dao's styles were completely different. Gu Liang Dao's moves were big and open, but Gongsun Cha was more detailed. Only battle generals like Gongsun Cha would be able to do preparations to this level. The accurate and thorough preparations allowed Shuang Yu to feel relaxed. What he needed to do was simple. He only needed to express his strength to successfully complete the mission. His target was Thousand Sails Sect. Thousand Sails Sect was not a large sect. Actually, it was only one of Tianhuan's outer sections. Its status in Tianhuan was not high, but its importance was seriously underestimated. Tianhuan had many outer sections. There were thousands of sects that had connections to Tianhuan, and the Thousand Sails sect was just one of those. They were skilled in the forging of treasure ships, especially transportation ships. Almost 7/10 of transportation ships in Tianhuan came from Thousand Sails sect. For Tianhuan, who made their living on forging and mercantilism, the amount of materials transported was astounding and the demand for transportation ships was high. Transportation ships were not hard to forge, but took time, and the profits were not high. Naturally, Tianhuan was not willing to invest manpower and energy into this. They were happy that Thousand Sails sect was willing to take over. Thousand Sails sect jumped to become one of the relatively strong sects among Tianhuan's outer sections. Their transportation ships sold well based on their connection to Tianhuan. In Gongsun Cha's intelligence analyses, the importance of this sect was high. If it was destroyed, it would have a great effect on Tianhuan's transportation abilities. Transportation ships did not need high-level materials or high-level methods to be forged, but needed time. If Thousand Sails sect was destroyed, Tianhuan would have a difficult time making up their transportation ships in the short term. Other sects could forge them, but no one could compare to Thousand Sails sect in scale. There were confirmed reports. An enormous order had come to Thousand Sails sect, and Tianhuan was currently facing the problem of lacking sufficient transportation ability. Gongsun Cha's plan targeted the enemy's weakness. He had to admit that Gongsun Cha was someone skilled at grabbing a person's weakness. What made Thousand Sails sect a tempting target was that, despite their importance, Thousand Sails sect did not have the corresponding level of defenses. Thousand Sails sect was in the core lands of Tianhuan and it was not easy for them to be attacked. Adding on that Tian Huan was supporting them, their competitors did not dare to scheme against them. The situation formed gradually over time to become like this. However, Tian Huan did have some measures. They still stationed a battalion near Thousand Sail sect to guarantee their safety. Yet a defense of this degree for a super expert like Shuang Yu was like there was nothing. Especially right now when Tian Huan's attention was attracted by Zhongde and Zuemo. Almost all of the top experts had been moved. This was undoubtedly the time that Tian Huan was weakest in defense. They would not encounter any experts of the same level. For Shuang Yu, this mission was so easy it was like taking a sightseeing trip. Gong Shuncha's move was really vicious. Behind Shuang Yu were a few dozen elites that carried large amounts of explosive talismans. They only had one mission, flatten Thousand Sails sect to the ground. Shuang Yu took a deep breath, his expression becoming cold. Begin. Chapter 830, Counterattack, 2. The old man's mission was the Yao Forging Tower. The Yao Forging Tower had been the place that Pu Yao and Wei had been imprisoned in. It was a restricted land that the forebearers of Tian Huan had created using their great power. There were 18 levels in the Yao Forging Tower. Pu Yao and Wei had been imprisoned in the bottom level. Every level was filled with Jinji. Unless one attacked from the outside, it was extremely difficult to escape. Pu Yao and Wei's escape had been the result of Pu Yao spending thousands of years and put his all to think of a solution. In reality, only Pu Yao and Wei had been left on the 18th level. The other Yao Ma had passed away a long time ago. Pu Yao had seen countless powerful Yomo that could not hold against the wear of time, lose their minds, and then turn into dust. This was what had caused him to resolve himself and escape the Yao Forging Tower. The Yao Forging Tower did not just imprison Yao Ma, but a large number of powerful people that could be a threat to Tian Huan's rule. They were not killed due to many various reasons and were imprisoned in the Yao Forging Tower. The Yao Forging Tower was heavily guarded. However, in this era of drastic change, for something as gigantic as Tian Huan, they had countless problems they needed to face, and too many places they could not attend to. The Yao Forging Tower was one of those. Tian Huan needed to face Kunlun's expansion, needed to face the threatening Imo Cloud Sea, the exchange of power between generations inside the sect, the change from the Ling power to Shen power system and so on. There were too many problems they urgently needed to resolve. In a situation like this, the defense of the Yao Forging Tower was not a priority. Just like the transportation formations of Imo Cloud Sea that were attacked, Tian Huan's Shen glyphs and Jinji were being developed with full support, but there was still a great distance until they were developed enough for widespread use. The Jinji of the Yao Forging Tower were the products of the era of Ling power. For experts that were in the era of Shen power, they were lacking power. For safety, especially the safety of the old man, Xia Shan, Nanyu, and the others were all sent with the old man's group. None of the group who qualified to go into the Yao Forging Tower was harmless. Even so, the old man alone was enough to intimidate the entire group. If they only released those imprisoned and caused a small degree of damage to Tian Huan, this was an embarrassing waste in the eyes of Gongsun Cha. For Lil Miss, these vicious brutes that had suffered under Tian Huan were great helpers. At usual times, other than the battalions stationed at the Yao Forging Tower, there were also experts. However, Li Xian Air had been captured, and almost all of the experts were sent to Xixian to negotiate and rescue Li Xian Air. This was the time that the tower was most empty. The old man was very satisfied at being put in charge of such an important mission. Which of you two will go first? The old man glanced at the orange-haired Yao and went out of the corner of his eye. The orange-haired Yao had an expression of smug pride as he patted his chest. We need to discuss this. Of course, it is the most handsome and genius youth first. Good brothers are loyal. Seeing how pitiful you are, I will condescend to help. The old man's face turned green. Who is brothers with you? The smug orange-haired Yao suddenly recalled the old man was a Gui's grandfather and immediately froze. He reacted and hurriedly smoothed over. Ha! A one. I'm speaking about a one. The orange-haired Yao thought that the old man could not be offended. If big sister Ague learned of this, and then attacked him, he would not be able to withstand it. Owen snorted coldly. Idiot! Before he finished speaking, he shot out. Hey hey hey! You bastard! You rule breaker! Unfair! You shameless being, I had a wrong opinion of you, you are a person without a bottom line, you embarrass the name of Mo Cloud C. The orange-haired Yao wailed loudly as he turned into a fiery red shadow and charged in. The old man turned his face. Are the two of them usually like this? Everyone nodded in unison. Nan Yu and the others were respectful of the old man. The old man's power was enough that they had to look up in reverence. Also, the old man's unique status was such that even Gongsun Cha had a high opinion of him, much less juniors like them. With everyone surrounding him, the old man felt unprecedentedly well, and full of spirit. These juniors were mature, obedient and had sweet tongues. They had smoothed his feathers. With a good mood, he did not skimp on teaching them. Soon, he found to his shock that these juniors were not just exceptionally talented, they were all very hardworking. Even the orange-haired Yao that seemed unreliable was focused when he cultivated. Such good children. The old man sighed. He decided that he was going to attend more events in the future, and show off the glory of an elder. He pretentiously pointed at the Yao forging tower and said with a serious expression. The person who gets into the entrance first will be taught a secret technique by this old man. Whoosh! Everyone's eyes turned green. On the trip here, the old man's unfathomable power and masterful Shen techniques caused reverence in all of the juniors. Such a promise immediately ignited the fighting spirit of all of the juniors. Nan Yu and the others unhesitatingly charged to the Yao forging tower. Behind them, the old man strolled slowly with the presence of a master. The sharp wails of alarms could be heard in the distance as the light of the Jinji lit up in twos and threes. It had been too long since Tianhuan itself had been attacked. The guards stationed at the Yao forging tower to be dazed for a moment when they heard the alarms. The enemy came so quickly they hadn't even entered the Jinji before the enemy reached them. The attack lights of the perimeter Jinji rained down on the enemy but were unable to stop their advance. Rongji looked in terror at the eerie and dangerous figures, cold rising from his heart. Ever since that time many years ago when Yao had escaped from the Yao forging tower, the guards at the Yao forging tower and the Jinji had been improved greatly. However, as war had occurred, the situation became more tense, and almost all of the experts at the Yao forging tower had been called away. As the situation calmed, the higher-ups seemed to forget about the Yao forging tower. Those left behind to guard the Yao forging tower would be transferred immediately when they had a breakthrough in cultivating Shen glyphs. Rongji had not improved much in cultivating Shen glyphs, so he had never left here. Rongji wanted to leave since a long time ago. Guarding the Yao forging tower was thought of as exile, a place with no future. There were no benefits here, and the days were hard. It was also difficult to accomplish something that would attract the attention of the higher-ups. But if they were not careful, it was easy for problems to occur. Naturally, no one was willing to come here. Only those that offended the higher-ups would be sent here. Occasionally in the past, there would be some experts with terrible personalities but were strong that were transferred over. In the recent years, there wasn't even one such expert. The higher-ups had developed a higher tolerance of those with strength than in the past. Rongji was often too lazy to think about these matters. Guarding the Yao forging tower was a hard job, but the benefit was that no one managed them, and they were free. They could occasionally go to the nearby battalion to act as a teacher, and guide the soldiers from the battalion. The scene of the lights raining down caused Song Ji to lose focus for a while. Elite. It was definitely elite. From what he saw, every figure was multiple times stronger than himself. Song Ji immediately knew the enemy's intentions. The enemy was targeting the prisoners of the Yao forging tower. Suddenly, he was filled with grief. He knew that he would pay the price for the inattentiveness of the higher-ups. Seeing the juniors were unstoppable, the old man was slightly shocked. The defenses of the Yao forging tower were so weak. He couldn't help but shake his head inwardly. Theoretically, A place like this was a restricted land for each sect and should be heavily protected. It was time for Tianhuan to taste its own medicine for missing this. The battle progressed quickly. The guards were cleared out in a short period of time. The nearby battalion was disturbed by the noise and were rushing over. They had quickly assembled and were hurrying over at their fastest speed. "How's the situation?" the old man asked the Black Smoke Yao. In his view, this person shrouded in black smoke was the smartest of the group. "The Jinji here are complete and suitable for facing battalions. If our intelligence reports on this battalion are accurate, we can hold the tower for at least 12 hours. However, you have to be fast," the Black Smoke Yao said without hesitation. "Good, I will leave this to you." The old man was very satisfied. He watched as the Black Smoke Yao directed people into the Jinji to prepare to stop the battalion outside. The fighting spirit inside his chest started to burn. "I hope the people inside the Yao Forging Tower do not disappoint me." The old man unhesitatingly flew into the Yao Forging Tower. Lan lightly spun the ice umbrella in her hand and the wind and snow seemed to be disturbed by an invisible hand. The sharp snow and wind were docile and vented in a storm. Ding ding ding. Countless blooms of blood appeared at the same time. The enemy that lost the protection of the light shields were fragile. The death of large numbers of their members caused many Jinji to stop functioning and the light in the sky weakened. At this time, Lan suddenly raised her face. In the sky, an enormous seal script ring of light was coming towards her at astounding speed. The sky full of wind and snow seemed to suddenly stop. Lan's eyes suddenly lit up with an eerie light. A reminiscing smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. After sleeping for tens of thousands of years, her battle skill had not decreased. As a totem warrior, fighting was an instinct that was engraved deep into her bones. 10,000 years ago, the greatest value of any totem warrior was fighting. She seemed to return to the time 10,000 years ago, in that chaotic and primitive land. Where the ice umbrella passed, it left ice and snow. She had never lost a fight in the ice and snow. The ice umbrella in her hand spun rapidly. The tassels that flew up were pleasing to hear with their chimes. Under the ice umbrella, she lowered her head, her expression was devout and grave. "In the name of Lan, dance." The wind and snow seemed to hear the summons and spun to gather at the ice umbrella above her head. With Lan as the center, a whirlwind of ice formed. The snow that had built up for tens of thousands of years on the ground crumbled. They flew into the sky and were sucked into the whirlpool of wind and snow above Lan's head. Boom-o-moum. The ice and snow gathered like a twister and formed an enormous pillar of icy wind. From far away, it looked like a terrifying dragon of ice twisting and rearing into the air. There was no longer any sharp wailing of the wind. What filled the ears were the roars of tens of thousands of horses stampeding towards them at once. The ground seemed to tremble. Zhou Fan and the others looked with ashen expressions at the enormous ice dragon in the air that stretched for dozens of li. The sky lock could not strike and was stuck in the air. There seemed to be an invisible hand that securely held it. Under the umbrella, the devout and solemn Lan murmured softly, "In the name of Lan." She suddenly raised her face and darkly said 4 words. "Ice, snow, mist, kill." The blue mask flashed with an icy light and cruelty. The ice umbrella pointed forward. Chapter 831, Counterattack, 3. Looking at the waves of fire and roiling black smoke, Shuang Yu decisively ordered, "Retreat." Dozens of figures around him quickly disappeared into the night. The next day, he successively destroyed a 3rd storehouse of Tianhuan. His mission was different from Lan. Lan's mission was to destroy Clear Sea Storehouse, an important materials transportation hub. His mission was to damage Thousand Sail Sect, including the supply points along the way. In this situation, when the enemy Shin power experts had all been called away, Shuang Yu lacked opponents and was unstoppable. Shuang Yu had no intentions of hiding his strength. Guliang Dao's faction did not share any borders with Tianhuan, but Imo Cloud Sea was their greatest ally. If Imo Cloud Sea was in danger, it meant that they were also in danger. Gu Yongdao had hinted to them of Zhong De's intentions. If that was the case, then the connection between Gu Yongdao and Mo Cloud Sea would become even closer. He had to admire Gongsun Cha's strategy. In the hidden battle with Mo Cloud Sea, Tian Huan had the absolute upper hand. This came from their thousands of years of management experience. The newly risen Mo Cloud Sea was not a match. However, Tian Huan was not invulnerable. With long borders and enormous territory, it was not hard for them to infiltrate enemy lands. An enormous territory also meant that the difficulty of defense was much greater. It had been too long since the interior of Tian Huan had experienced battle. This caused the wariness of the battalions stationed in the interior to be very low. They never thought that the safe interior would be attacked. Tian Huan relied heavily on the seal formations, just like Mo Cloud Sea. They also shared the problem that seal formation development hadn't caught up with Shen power development. While Tian Huan's upper levels had increased wariness after Mo Cloud Sea's transportation formations had been attacked, Tian Huan's territory was too vast. Other than sending battalions to reinforce some extremely important locations, the great majority of areas were left the same as before. Gu Yongdao was a decisive person. After he decided to kill Tian Huan, he immediately began planning. Gu Yongdao knew that they would only have one chance. If they could not strike a heavy blow, they would alert Tian Huan and never be given a chance like this again. In order to obtain the best effect, he decided to message Mo Cloud Sea. Because Zhuo Mo was absent, the one left in charge was Gongsun Cha. After Gongsun Cha heard the plan, he was in agreement. While this plan could not strike Tian Huan at their foundation, it could buy more time for Mo Cloud Sea. Even though top experts like Zhuo Mo and Wei Sheng were not present, Mo Cloud Sea still had Qinghua Shui. Nan Yu and the others had also returned from their mission and managed to arrive in time. Gongsun Lil Mis had been very discontent at being suppressed by Tian Huan for a long time. He decided to do something big. Due to this, he even personally went to persuade Gui's grandfather. He had originally thought that the old man would refuse, and hadn't expected the old man to easily agree. With the two top experts, the old man and Shuang Yu, leading the way, the power behind this plan exploded. In addition, Lan suddenly stepping out of the mist allowed the entire plan to choose more targets. For this plan, Gongsun Cha used almost all of the intelligence that Mo Cloud Sea had. The targets were quickly selected. These targets were similar. They were not attention-catching, but each was crucial in the transport of Tian Huan's materials. If they were damaged, Tian Huan's material transportation would have problems. In order to accomplish the goal of damage, Golden Crow Camp specially forged one-use talismans. These talismans were based on the fire box that Bihan had used to burn the main peak of Xian Kong Temple. The new fire boxes they forged were more powerful, the fire stronger, and could burn nearly anything. More astounding was the black smoke produced by the flames had the added ability of removing Ling power. The more Ling power a material had, the more effective the fire was. Once a high-end material came into contact with the black smoke, it would become impotent. It was perfect to use in causing indiscriminate damage. Gongsun Cha was gathering power on his side to give Tian Huan a blow they would remember. No one had expected that Zhuo Mo seemed to be of the same mind as Gongsun Cha and actually captured Li Xian Air alive. The situation had changed from them being reactive to being proactive. The Tian Huan experts were all lured away by Zhuo Mo, which gave the mission that Gongsun Cha planned the perfect opening. This mission went so smoothly that Shuang Yu almost couldn't believe it. Was Mo Cloud Sea strong to such a degree? The beautiful and fine ice umbrella pointed. Boom boom boom. The enormous dragon of ice and snow broke through the sky lock. Then, that suffocatingly large body howled as it rammed the Jinji with its head at a rapid speed. The great power immediately destroyed all the Jinji, and an immeasurable amount of snow and ice drowned the fortress. There was only a mountain of snow in front of Lan, a snowy mountain that completely buried the fortress. Around this 300 zhang tall mountain that was an enormous basin that was 50 li in diameter. Holding the ice umbrella in hand, Lan lightly flew to the top of the snow mountain. Clear Sea Storehouse was exposed in front of her. Endless rows of storehouses were laid out in neat rows, and mountains of materials were exposed, showing off vast wealth. A hint of a smile rose on Lan's lips. This time, Tian Huan would feel pain. An army of figures flew past land and into the mountains of materials. Soon, flames danced and licked towards the frozen sky. The flames became so hot even the ice started to melt. Only the mountain of snow, shrouded in the wind and snow, under Lan's feet did not show any signs of melting. The thick smoke quickly disappeared into the wind and snow. It was not just the loss of the materials. Even Clear Sea Storehouse would not be usable. Lan looked calmly at the large fire in front of her. Having been through countless battles, her will was as hard as stone. She turned. Holding the ice umbrella, she disappeared into the wind and snow. Just like tens of thousands of years ago. Attack! Tian Huan's battle general shouted angrily. He was forced to the end of his rope. If the Yao Forging Tower was opened, his only outcome would be death. He had never thought that the Yao Forging Tower that had never been attacked before would see this day. Damn it! The enemy were an elite force. While they were few in number, each one of them was strong. Rong Ji and that group of trash always boasted about their abilities so much. Yet even with the Jinji, they were unable to withstand the other long enough even with the help of the Jinji. The battle general couldn't help but curse inside. If Rong Ji had managed to delay the enemy, then he would have pincered the enemy with his battalion. Unless the enemy had the topmost experts, he would be able to wear the other to death with numbers. Yet Rong Ji lost control of the Jinji in the first attack. The Jinji of the Yao Forging Tower became a great weapon used against them. Right now, they were being pinned down by the Jinji and unable to charge close to the enemy. The battle general had never thought that there would be a day these Jinji would become the greatest obstacle to stopping his side. Because of the past incident where Yao had escaped, the Jinji of the Yao Forging Tower had been strengthened. Now, these Jinji became the nightmare of this Tianhuan battalion. No one had expected the enemy would use the power of their own Jinji to strike at them. In their first charge, unprepared, their fatalities were extremely high. The rain of attacks almost drowned them. Motherfucker! Whose territory was this? The battle general couldn't help but swear. The power that the enemy managed to get out of the Jinji was even stronger than Rong Ji's group. Were there traitors? The pitiable battle general couldn't help but become paranoid. What he did not know was that in Mo Cloud Sea, learning how to use Jinji was something that almost every person was required to study. It was rare to have someone like Ma Fan that could use a formation defense line to its limits, but everyone was familiar with seal formations. The Black Smoke Yao's photographic memory and his exceptional intelligence helped him refine skills in this area. Nan Yu was the leader of the orange-haired Yao and the others, but the strategic mind was the Black Smoke Yao. This guy was the weakest in the group but had the highest intelligence. Under the direction of the Black Smoke Yao, the Yao Forging Tower was extremely powerful. Everyone in their squad trusted the Black Smoke Yao's abilities. All of his orders would be followed completely and without question. This was the classic battle style of Mo Cloud Sea. The Tianhuan battle general was full of panic. The longer this dragged out, the worse the situation would get. The other was definitely opening the interior Jinji of the Yao Forging Tower to release the prisoners inside. This could not continue. Charge! All of you, charge! His angry shout echoed in the air. However, the effect of his shouting was negligible. The Jinji attacks of the Yao Forging Tower was too strong, and there were no dead spots. There was almost no possibility of surviving after being attacked by the Jinji. He also knew that the Jinji could maintain attacks of this level for a long time. He thought furiously in search of the almost minuscule possibility of success. The enemy had the upper hand, and was on defense. Even elite battalions would not have any good solutions stuck in a trench warfare like this, much less a regular battalion like them. The enemy's only weakness was their few numbers. They would do it. The Tianhuan battle general decided. If the enemy succeeded, he and his men would only have death waiting for him. Rather than that, it was better if he died on the battlefield. At least this way, his family would not be affected. He gathered the remaining warriors. We only have one option left to us. Everyone spread out, scatter, try to spread out as much as possible. We will attack from every angle. The enemy is few in number, if we get close, we will have a chance. Everyone knows our chances. If we die in battle, the higher-ups will allow our families to live good days due to our sacrifice. But if we flee, they will be dragged down with us. If the enemy succeeds, and we are still alive, everyone's families will still be affected. Everyone was silent. All of them unconsciously balled their fists. They knew that boss was right. No one pays attention to us, our benefits are lacking, we are just cannon fodder. There is no way about it. This battle isn't for Tianhuan, just for our families. Everyone, let's die here. The battle general said gravely. His gaze swept across the group with the resolve to die. There was a deathly silence. No one spoke. Everyone silently prepared. Their presence suddenly changed. An indescribable pressure covered the battlefield. Chapter 832, Counterattack, 4. The Black Smoke Yao was the first to detect the change in the enemy troops. His vantage point allowed him to quickly identify the others' intentions. His heart tightened and he shouted, "Everyone, pay attention. They are about to start an all-out attack. Defend your own areas, do not allow any dead spots to appear. You, go high up, I will leave the ones that have slipped through to you." "All right." Nan Yu acknowledged. She jumped up, and went to the highest point. A bow of light appeared in her hand. South Sky Shin Arrow. The South Sky Arrow art, that had been strengthened by Shin power flashed with an eerie purple light. The ruler straight and thin bowstring was filled with power. Nan Yu stood in the wind with a cold expression. She was no longer that little girl from the past, one that did not understand anything at all. She had been through hundreds of battles, was experienced, had a strong mentality and was a trusted team leader. Her attacks had a great attack range. Everyone had been together for a long time, and worked well together. Hearing the reminder from the Black Smoke Yao, everyone's nerves tensed. Whenever the Black Smoke Yao was like this, it meant that there was a hard battle to come. However, the group did not fear this. They were at the age where their spirits were high. They had abundant endurance and strong resolve. After cultivating the many different practices that were unique to Mo Cloud C, they had outstanding regulation and iron resolve. In Mo Cloud C, cowards were looked down upon. Gongsun Cha, Wei Sheng, and including Zhua Mo, they were all people with extremely strong resolve. Affected by these leaders, Mo Cloud C admired this trait. Mo Cloud C had a saying, "You can have no talent, no skill, no high birth, but you cannot be a coward." Everyone focused and breathed calmly with grave expressions. The Black Smoke Yao was unprecedentedly nervous. It was the first time he had encountered such a dangerous situation. However, an indescribable excitement rose in his body. He was not afraid. He repeatedly ran through what he had learned. The group usually had small-scale conflicts and never had experienced a true battle. Figures started to appear at the edge of his view. "Attention! The enemy is about to come," he warned in a loud voice. His gaze did not waver. When those figures gradually came close, he finally saw the situation clearly. His heart tensed. The other had scattered their forces and they did not seem to be connected to each other. When he saw the expressions on the enemy faces, he became even more wary. They are about to go all out. The Black Smoke Yao couldn't help but warn. The black smoke that shrouded his body seemed to reach out tentacles that inserted into the Jinji around him. The bodies of the enemy 50 li away paused slightly. 50 li was the upper range of the Jinzi's attack. The enemy knew the Jinzi's limits. The Black Smoke Yao blurted unthinkingly, "Kill." Almost at the same time, the Xiuzhe who had paused slightly gathered their power and charged in unison at an astounding rate. Almost every person was shrouded in light that drew bright streaks in the sky. Yet what welcomed them was a rain of attacks. All kinds of light in different colors flooded out of the Jinji and immediately covered the 50 li range of the Jinji. The enemy was clearly fighting to the death. No one retreated, there were no wails or screams. The people who were hit by the Jinji attacks were cut to pieces or disintegrated into dust. Yet these Tianhuan Xiuzhe continued to move forward, furiously dodging and moving their bodies as they faced the rain of attacks. They advanced at the expense of their lives. A distance of 50 li was not far for a Xiuzhe. Even though Tianhuan's battalion was not famed for their charging abilities, a charge like this without any regard for life still gave the Black Smoke Yao and others great pressure. They were too few in number. When the enemy's entire battalion all charged, the scene was spectacular. Seemingly countless figures wrapped in faint light seemed to pack the sky. There seemed to be no end. Their features were vicious and twisted. You could clearly see their almost crazed and hungry state. They leapt towards you like a swarm of locusts. When the sky and ground were full of people like this, those with slightly less resolve would have been so frightened they would have turned and fled. The Black Smoke Yao and the others were completely absorbed in battle. Each person gave off indistinct howls. Their eyes were wide as they gathered all of their Shen power. Their consciousnesses were all pressed to their limits as they controlled all the Jinji that could be controlled. They opened all of the Jinji attacks and furiously vented out. Boom boom boom. Endless explosions caused people to almost not hear any other sound. The storm of Jinji attacks plowed through the ground within 50 li. The sky was covered by furiously moving figures that moved like moths to a flame. Standing at the tallest point, Nanyu changed expression. She was shocked by such a cruel and brutal battle. Their sneak attack previously had gone unusually smoothly. The Yao Forging Tower's weaknesses were exposed. However, these seemingly mad people caused her to reconsider Tianhuan. Fortunately, the Shen power of the majority of these people were weak. Most of the lights flashing on their bodies were the lights of Ling power. If this battalion cultivated Shen power, if they were a bit stronger, it would not be possible for so few of them to suppress the entire battalion. Undoubtedly, this was a cannon fodder battalion that no attention was paid for. This could be seen from their weak Shen power, and the fact their armor that was still Ling armor and not Shen equipment. However, the spirit of this cannon fodder battalion was worthy of respect. Soon, Nanyu did not have the time to think. Someone had broken through. She narrowed her eyes, and her light in her hand that had swung downwards and suddenly disappeared. In the distance a ruler straight light penetrated the other's chest like lightning. The other's mouth was wide, they didn't give any sound as their eyes quickly dimmed and they fell face forward. Nanyu was completely immersed in battle. Her attack rate was astounding. Her right hand was a blur of afterimages, long thin arrows of light appearing and disappearing from her hand. The light arrows were like rain. None of them missed. She was like the god of death, ruthlessly and efficiently harvesting lives. The South Sky Arrow art, strengthened by Shen power into the South Sky Shen Arrow, was multiple times as strong as before. The enemy's Ling armor was as fragile as paper in front of it. The enemy quickly found Nanyu up high, and they tried their best to dodge. But no matter how they tried to dodge, the arrows of light never missed. They seemed to be able to pass through space and directly appear in front of them to take their targets. Pew! A spray of blood. The battle general felt a pain at his chest. Something seemed to be pulled out of his heart. His seemingly mad face calmed down. There was no discontent, no fury. They could only reach this level. Bam! He felt down face forwards, the lights that occasionally passed by in the sky reflected in his gradually dimming pupils. The death of the Tianhuan battle general was the climax of this battlefield's cacophonic symphony of death. The remaining Xiuzhe charged even more madly without regard for life or death. Not one person retreated. The sky seemed to be dyed red by blood. When the last figure fell down, the battlefield became calm again. Everyone was soaked in sweat as though they had just come out of water. They panted heavily, their twisted features gradually relaxing. No one spoke. Even the endlessly chatty orange-haired Yao was silent at this moment. Their gazes were directed to the completely transformed battlefield. Corpses were spread all over. Nothing was alive. Everyone lost the interest in speaking. This battalion had been a cannon fodder battalion, their battle general had been average, their soldiers' skill level was still back in the era of Ling power, their equipment was terrible. But this battalion had displayed an admirable battle spirit, one worthy of respect. No one retreated, no one fled, everyone charged into the Jinji knowing they would die. Nan Yu and the others could not describe what they felt now. It really is a battalion worthy of respect. The black smoke Yao was full of emotion. His voice was tired. Everyone couldn't help but nod. Oh, it seems that you have had a hard battle. The old man's voice came from behind the group. Whoosh, everyone turned following the voice. Immediately, everyone's expression froze on their faces as they gaped. The old man seemed like a barge hauler as he dragged a golden chain the thickness of an arm. He walked towards the group with the mannerism of an expert. More than 20 unfamiliar people were tied up in a bunch and being dragged on the ground behind him. The old man walked in alone dragging his spoils behind him. The old man looked at the group that had turned to stone with a smile, feeling smug inside. Aha, there were too many people, I didn't take much care. The spoils at his feet all had expressions of anger, their eyes wide as though they wanted to stab through the old man with their stares. However, the Jinji on them stopped them from making any sound. The orange-haired Yao's stunned gaze recovered and he blurted out, "Whoa, you are so wretched, you are like a prison warden." The surroundings immediately became silent. The old man's expression froze on his face, and his murderous rose. The orange-haired Yao had an innocent expression as he turned and asked the others, "Don't you feel that it is similar?" Everyone else turned their faces away and didn't bear to look. "You're dead." The old man gritted as he glared at the orange-haired Yao. When Zuo received the message from Gongsun Cha, he relaxed greatly. Gongsun Cha's victories were significant and could draw away a portion of Tianhuan's attention. The battle between Kunlun and the Yao were at the fiercest time. Supposedly, the battle between Mu Xian and Mu Shi was extremely intense. This caused Zuo to sigh in relief. It was good news for him that Kunlun was delayed by the situation and could not participate over here. Guliang Dao's battalion was already on the way to Xixian. Once Guliang Dao met up with Zhongde, the situation would be roughly set. Mo Cloud C's battalions had finished preparing. Other than Ma Fan's battalion that guarded the defense line, the other battalions had all been recalled. Vermilion Bird Camp had finished gathering and Lil Miss could enter Xixian at any time. Yang Yuanhao had also finished preparing. If they won this battle, Mo Cloud C would jump to become one of the titans. Zuo knew he needed to be more calm and careful at a time like this. He put down the weaving girl shuttle, and focused completely on preparing to welcome the hard battle about to come. Tianhuan would not suddenly rest. It was likely they would negotiate as they schemed in the shadows. Zuo became alert. While he had offensive power on his side, Tianhuan was not weak. As time moved, the Tianhuan envoys came closer, and the atmosphere became heavier. This was a battle that could change the state of the Shoujo world. Chapter 833, Intentions, How are the losses? The sect leader of Tianhuan asked. Extremely serious. An elder had an ugly expression. All the materials in Clear Sea storehouse has been ruined. The value of the materials is not high, but there were too many materials and their loss that it has already affected the market price. The price of low and mid-level materials on the market is madly growing to meet the new demand. The cost of producing Arshan equipment is 3/10 higher than before. Only next year when new materials are obtained will this situation ease. Thousand Sales sect is also badly off. Another elder walked out. All of Thousand Sail sect was destroyed, and almost exterminated. Almost all the materials were burned. We do not have enough transport boats. The sect leader of Tianhuan was silent for a moment before asking, which other sects can forge them? None. The elder shook his head. There used to be many sects like Thousand Sail sect that were skilled in making transport ships, but in past these years, we have always supported Thousand Sail sect. Thousand Sail sect has grown by more than 10 times, and swallowed many other sections. Almost all of the forgers of treasure ships had been recruited by them, they were all killed by Mo Cloud Sea. An elder stood out. Since Thousand Sail sect has no production ability, we should divide the orders equally among the sects that have the ability to forge transport boats. A hint of anger flashed through the sect leader's eyes. This elder had several sects with production abilities that met their needs under his service, which was why this elder was so impatient. Yet this elder was smart in that he did not want it all to himself, but shared the benefits. Immediately, many elders spoke their agreement. Then let us do this, the sect leader of Tianhuan said after a long moment of silence. Several elders had expressions of joy. Tianhuan's order was so large that they would make a good profit. What about the Yao Forging Tower? The sect leader of Tianhuan asked. The elder that had reported first shook his head and said, they all ran, not even one was left inside. The battalion and all the guards were killed, the battle was intense, no one retreated. The hall immediately became silent. The sect leader said gravely, increase the death gratuity, and reward their families. News of these 3 battles quickly spread through all of the Shoujo world and caused waves. Tianhuan had received a great blow this time. Mo Cloud Sea had not sent many people, and infiltration of such a small scale could not be defended against. Mo Cloud Sea had started a completely new method of fighting. People thought that in the era of Shen power, high-level offensive forces could not dominate like they did before. However, Mo Cloud Sea had showed everyone how to use high-level offensive manpower in the new age. Especially the targets that Mo Cloud Sea had chosen. Each one was worthy of study, and to learn from. What shocked people even more was the strength of Mo Cloud Sea's high-end forces. People now found that Mo Cloud Sea didn't just have 2 of the 10 great battle generals, they had numerous high-level forces. Those Shen power experts were enough to make any faction anxious. Never underestimate Mo Cloud Sea. This phrase quickly spread. Can you still fight? The chief elder said coolly. Yes. Miwu nodded forcefully. There seemed to be something burning inside of him. Chief Elder had taken along almost all of the experts from in Tianhuan this time. Those familiar faces caused Miwu to realize that this would be an important and unprecedented battle. The Chief Elder nodded slightly. You should also know the situation. Mo Cloud Sea has attacked Thousand Sail sect, Clear Sea Storehorse, and the Yao Forging Tower. We have suffered great losses. However, forget all that now. Many people unconsciously balled their fists. Looking at the young faces, the chief elder felt comforted. His expression quickly became serious again. You all think that the target of this battle is to save Li Xian'er. Almost everyone had expressions of surprise. They raised their heads to look at Chief Elder with puzzlement on their faces. Was this not the case? You are wrong. Chief Elder's tones was still cool. This time, our target is Zhongde. Not to save Xian'er but to save Tianhuan. The expressions became more puzzled. Maybe you feel puzzled right now, but in the future, you will become the new generation of leaders and will have to think independently. Widen your eyes, do not let emotions affect your judgment. Where our strategy failed the greatest was in predicting Zhongde's choice. Our mistake was not incorrectly guessing that Zhongde will choose us, but in believing Zhongde would choose the Shi Xian sect leader. The chief elder's words were like a tongue twister but caused these people to sink into thought. These were the elite of Tianhuan, and none of them were dumb. Zhongde did not choose the Shi Xian sect leader, he killed the sect leader. What does this say? It means that he had another candidate in mind long ago. This mistake is fatal to us. From the start, we were lead on the wrong path. Zhongde does not have many choices, only two, one is himself, the other is Guliang Dao. Guliang Dao's battalion has started to travel towards Xixian, meaning he choose Guliang Dao. Mo Cloud C's battalions are also gathering. He also chose Mo Cloud C as an ally. The chief elder's pair of eyes that seemed to see through the world caused everyone to feel respect. In just a few sentences, the entire situation was clearly spread in front of everyone. Everyone looked in reverence at Chief Elder, this great power that pushed Tianhuan into the era of Shen power by himself. If not for Chief Elder, Tianhuan might not have crumbled quickly like Xixian, but their decline would most likely have been inevitable. This ultimate master that had went into seclusion for decades to comprehend Shen glyphs was worthy of their respect, their allegiance. Tianhuan is now at a dangerous juncture. If Zhongde and Zuomo's goals are realized, then another titan will undoubtedly appear. All of our actions to restrain Mo Cloud C until now will be ineffective. We will face an enemy that is almost the same level as us, but even stronger. For control of the market, we have to have a final battle. Do not forget the monster that is Kunlun. If we continue to struggle and waste our strength with Mo Cloud C, whether we win or lose, it will be a failure to us. Everyone's expressions became grave. If it really advanced to such a step, then Tianhuan would really be in danger. This is our last chance. The last chance to avoid defeat. Chief Elder said gravely. His old eyes only held fiery resolve. We need victory in this battle. Victory! Everyone shouted in unison. Looking at the young people full of fighting spirit, he couldn't help but feel a threat of exhaustion. Suddenly, he admired Kunlun. Compared to Tianhuan that was riddled with problems, Kunlun did not need to be worried about these things. The sacrifice of the older generation didn't just earn time for the younger generation, it also freed up room in their upper ranks. Kunlun had almost completely changed. All the old factions had been swept away before the last sect leader of Kunlun abdicated. Yet in Tianhuan, new and old factions were mixed together, and the families fought. He knew that the present Tianhuan was at its weakest. It had not yet handed off power from the old to the new generation. Just like a shedding snake, it was in pain, exposed, and weak. Kunlun on the other hand seemed to be reborn, full of energy. Sacrifice, it was a terrifying power. The aura of a battle grew even closer. Zuo was strangely calm. He repeatedly went through every detail. For some reason, he kept on feeling a tinge of anxiousness. This anxiousness caused him to be wary. He trusted his instincts. He knew that he had missed something somewhere. But where? As time passed, the anxiousness grew even stronger. He did not panic. If before, it had been more of a feeling, now he was sure that he had missed something. He was strangely calm, icy calm. He went over every detail in his mind. But no matter how he speculated, the conclusion he obtained was no different than before. If Tianhuan wanted to save Li Xian'er, they had. Wait! Lightning seemed to flash through Zuomo's mind. A daring idea rose. Why did Tianhuan have to save Li Xian'er? Yes, why did Tianhuan have to save Li Xian'er? Li Xian'er was the granddaughter of the sect leader. Li Xian'er had the Shen device, weaving girl shuttle, Li Xian'er. All of this proved how important Li Xian'er was. But was Li Xian'er something that Tianhuan could not lose at the moment? No. What was truly related to the life and death of Tianhuan? If Tianhuan lost this battle, Tianhuan could not suppress Mo Cloud C, and the new alliance of Mo Cloud C and Guliang Dao's Xixian had the ability to fight Tianhuan. Mo Cloud C, who had vast territories, would be fighting for the market with Tianhuan. All of Tianhuan was in danger. Zuomo's thoughts became clearer. If Tianhuan wanted to resolve this, what should it do? Zhongde. Only Zhongde. Tianhuan's target was Zhongde. They would not capture Zhongde alive to trade for Li Xian'er. One Li Xian'er could not compare to the fate of Tianhuan. Their target was Zhongde, to kill Zhongde. If Zhongde died, Tianhuan's danger would resolve itself. If Zhongde died, Shi Xian would descend into chaos, and Tianhuan and Kunlun would take the chance to conquer. A cold sweat rose and Zhuo Mo's face turned ashen. Zhongde was in danger. He unhesitatingly stood up and called everyone. Quick! Tianhuan's target is Zhongde. The situation was in a dangerous time. Li Xian'er had no value in his hand. Zhuo Mo couldn't help but hate how his greed had clouded his thoughts. He had kept on thinking of using Li Xian'er to get something from Tianhuan. Everyone else was surprised but no one asked any questions. They unconditionally trusted Zhuo Mo's judgment. The group of people furiously charged out of the secret room, their Shen power rippling as they charged towards Zhongde's tent. The sound of fighting came from the camp in the distance. Zhuo Mo's expression changed slightly. The group didn't dare to hesitate, their speed accelerating as they furiously flew towards the camp. They had to make it in time. Chapter 834, Tianhuan's charge. Wei Xing seemed to feel something almost at the same time. The sound of battle sounded at the perimeter of the camp. Abyss Fiend Battalion was heavily guarded. They hadn't just set up a great amount of Jinji in the surroundings, everyone slept with their weapons in preparation of battle at any time. The patrols also passed by frequently. Shi Pei's expression was calm, and he still had an unaffected expression. Once a battalion was prepared, it was not easy for the enemy to charge in easily, much less on a hardened battalion like the Abyss Fiend Jail Battalion. Wei Xing moved his gaze away and glanced at Shi Pei. Shi Pei still seemed to be made of stone, but he was still courteous towards Wei Xing. Mr. Wei, do not worry, it is not so easy for the enemy to defeat our boys. Wei Xing saw the other's politeness. He nodded and said, if you need me, just ask, no need to be polite. Usually, this was the case as long as not many of the enemy had come. Shi Pei squeezed out a smile, all right. The two were both people not skilled in speech. After this exchange, the atmosphere cooled again. Wei Xing closed his eyes and meditated. The god-killing blood sword floated in front of him with a bloody aura. Shi Pei's attention moved back to the perimeter. Soon, a warning came from the front. Shi Pei was slightly surprised. Abyss Jail Battalion had guarded the worst jail, the Abyss Fiend Jail. They could be called a battalion of iron. Every member thought nothing of life and death, they were powerful. Zhongde had created this iron troop himself. Every soldier would unhesitatingly use their body to take an attack for Zhongde. All of the army knew that Tianhuan's target was Zhongde Darren. The battalion's morale did not need any urging. Everyone's spirits burned. They were fighting on home territory, they had enough time to set up defenses, they had the advantage of the land. According to Shi Pei's predictions, they should have been able to stop all of the enemy attacks. He hadn't thought that the front lines would not be able to stop the others' attacks. It could be seen just how much pressure the front lines were under. Surprised, Shi Pei immediately realized that the enemy's experts were probably much stronger than they had predicted. The situation was more severe than they had imagined. Mi Wu moved quickly, two ringmasters following him closely to protect his flanks. The three of them charged towards the camp like a drill. Mi Wu felt as though there was a fire burning in his chest. His attacks were fiery, the Shen glyph in his body constantly providing him with surging power. He seemed to have endless power that would never be used up. The surroundings were full of enemies, but he felt no fear. His body moved like lightning, the light in his hand like a sharp blade that flashed through the air. It had to be said that combat was the best teacher. Last time, he had just fought one round with Zhuo Mo, yet Mi Wu had learned a lot. He had gradually become experienced. Clang! The Shen equipment of the enemy flashed and blocked his attack. Yet Mi Wu seemed to have predicted it. Abyss Jail Battalion wore the Shen equipment that Mo Cloud Sea had designed for them. Mo Cloud Sea Shen equipment was not below Tianhuan's level, and their defense was outstanding. A succession of attacks came. A silent light appeared behind the enemy's neck. The moment that the light shield of the Shin equipment disappeared, that silent light sliced across the other's neck. A line of blood appeared on the enemy's neck, and they froze. Miwoo smashed onto this person with his remaining momentum. Bam! The head and the body separated, the sprouting pillar of blood turning into bloody mist in the air. The headless corpse smashed towards the enemy, charging at him like a sandbag. Using the timing of this block, the Shin glyph under Miwoo's feet lit up. 7 figures that were exactly the same appeared at the same time, along with 14 blade-like lights. Each figure striking at one of the 7 newcomers. Yet he had not killed the 7 people as he had predicted. Only one person died, the other 2 had only been killed with the help of the 2 ring masters. Abyss Jail Battalion was as the rumors said. Miwoo felt his heart tremble. His strength was multiple times that of these soldiers, but when he charged into the formation, he still felt a great force. This strong repulsion and pressure was invisible just like air, but it was truly present. Those soldiers did not fear death as though they did not care for their lives. The rivers of blood could not affect them at all. The scar-covered faces were indifferent as they charged towards him. Even when they died, their expressions were aloof. Miwoo felt chills up his spine. He had seen elite forces before. The battalion under Mi Nan, the true leader of the Mi family in this generation, was famed in the world, a top-rank elite force. He had entered the camp many times, but they had never given him a feeling like this. Miwoo was not attacking at full power. His mission was to draw the attention of the enemy, control the expenditure of his Shin power, and prepare to fight for a long time. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw another small team of 7 people charge over. He hurriedly turned and charged in another direction. After charging around for a while, Miwoo had some experience. Once the enemy gathered more than 5 people, their offensive power would increase dramatically. The 3 of them could win, but it was easy for them to be delayed. The trio was extremely quick and slippery. Even though there were enemies constantly around that would slow them, they were unable to catch the trio. The Jinji set up around the camp was simplistic in the eyes of Miwoo and those who came from Tianhuan. They effortlessly avoided the traps and Jinji, moving constantly and not giving the enemy a chance to surround them. The rhythm of battle was astoundingly fast. In just 100 breaths, the trio had killed more than 40 people. Choosing to attacking in chaos was perfect for Miwoo, who had a calm mind and a quick reactions. Yet at such a fast pace, even if Miwoo had saved his strength, the expenditure of energy was still astounding. The 2 ring masters around him were even more tired. The charge of the trio was evident in their effect. They were like thin and eerie blade that danced through the enemy's flesh and bone, searching for a lethal strike. The enemy's formation couldn't help but ripple. Sandong was much more magnificent than the calm Miwoo. He walked alone. Everywhere he passed, there were broken limbs and bodies, blood flowing in rivers. His Shin glyph was unusual in Tianhuan, but if Zui Mo was here, he would find to his shock that Sangdong's Shin glyph was similar to Mo Cloud C's inscription art. There seemed to be a layer of blood over his surging Shin power. He was like a wild beast that charged unreasonably. His eyes were completely red as he snarled. He seemed to have a tangible shadow of blood. He faced the enemy and then charged into the formation like a mad bull. Bam bam bam. Several figures flew out like sandbags, the lights dim. If they did not die, they were wounded. The blood on the ground was absorbed into the bloody shadow on his body. In a blink, the bloody shadow became even denser. Sangdong gave a great howl, his voice even stronger than before. Sangdong's blood-devouring Shin glyph was the Shin glyph most suited to the battlefield. It could absorb blood and turn it into Shin power. On the battlefield, he was a true killing machine. He fought in an unreasonable manner, not knowing exhaustion. As long as there was blood, he could continue to fight. Unlike the other seats, Sangdong was a battle maniac. It was rare to see him in the sect. What he liked the most was the battlefield. Tianhuan didn't have any major battles in these years, but his lively figure could be seen in the small battles at the borders. If Li Xian'er was said to be Tian Huan's most talented and theoretically the strongest disciple, then Sang Dong was the most terrifying and damaging person of the four seats. Sang Dong's powerful charges gave the Abyss Jail Battalion great pressure. He was like a tireless bull that continued to charge at the enemy formation. Even the rock-solid Abyss Jail Battalion started to show cracks. Zhuo Mo looked at the chaotic scene and sighed in relief. If they had come moments later, then they would really be danger. Abyss Jail Battalion was really a well-trained and determined battalion to not have crumbled in a situation like this. If it was any other battalion facing these experts from Tianhuan, they would have collapsed long ago. When there were enough experts, unless the battalion also had experts, the one losing would be the battalion. Outstanding individual power allowed these people to charge back and forth in enemy ranks and kill at their leisure. They had the initiative during battle. The battalion could only react. If the enemy were few in number, then if the battalion had the advantage of numbers and did not care about sacrifices, they could tire the other into death. But if there were many experts, and the battalion lacked experts, then the battalion was dangerous. That was the situation now. Almost all of Tianhuan's experts had come. An elite force like the Abyss Jail Battalion was suppressed to the point that they couldn't even form a battle formation. Zhuo Mo was shocked as he watched. In the future, he had to send Lil Miss and Bihan some experts. Otherwise, it would really be dangerous if they encountered a situation like this. The advantage of a battalion was in fighting on a large scale. In a small-scale battle like this, they could not rival the Shen power experts that were nimble and had strong attacks. The tired Abyss Jail Battalion showed an opening. Zhuo Mo's gaze suddenly contracted. He saw an old person. In such a chaotic battlefield, this person advanced like he was strolling. His speed was not fast, yet no one in the surroundings could stop him. A small group of 7 people charged at the old person and the light of the battle formation was dazzling. The old person did not seem to move and the 7-man team turned into 7 balls of fire in the light of the battle formation. He slowly moved forward, not even looking as he stepped into a Jinji. Just as everyone thought that the Jinji would active, the formation scripts of the Jinji suddenly lit up. Then, the bright light spread in astounding speed in all directions. Everywhere it passed, all of the active or secret Jinji and seal scripts lit up. Countless seal scripts floated on the ground of the camp. All of the Jinji were activated. Chapter 835, Tianhuan Chief Elder Zhuo Mo's pupils suddenly contracted. An extremely brief pause occurred in the battle. Everyone was stunned by the sudden burst of light that swallowed the camp. Boom boom boom. Countless balls of fire rose from the camp and shrouded the enormous camp in a sea of fire. Many soldiers were thrown into the air, caught off guard by the shockwave from the explosion. The entire battlefield was in chaos. Zhuo Mo inhaled sharply. He knew who the old man was. The chief elder of Tianhuan. Other than that almost mythically old man of Tianhuan that had peerless skill in seal formations, who else could cause all the Jinji of an enemy camp to explode in one moment? The chief elder's move scared Zhuo Mo. Xian was not skilled at seal formations, and the level of Jinji set up around the camp was not high. However, how terrifying was the skill needed to ignite all the Jinji at once? As expected of the foremost Shen glyph expert, even Zhuo Mo admitted that he would not be able to do this. The Abyss Jail Battalion was not skilled at Jinji, and the ones they set up were not high level. As a result, there were not many fatalities. If this was Mo Cloud Sea, and the Jinji of the camp were ignited. Zhuo Mo shuddered. The sea of fire caused by the explosion of Jinji threw the Abyss Jail Battalion into complete chaos. The camp was a sea of fire. Someone shouted angrily at the top of their lungs from inside the fire, "Protect Darren." Soon, shouts rose from every corner of the camp. "Protect Darren! Protect Darren!" In the sea of flames, those hardy figures gave off slight light. Their Shen equipment stopped the heat from the flames. They did not hesitate as they charged to the center of the camp. As they sprinted, ran in the flames, their faces became covered in smoke, their hair started to burn, but there was no fear on their scarred faces. They formed ranks quickly. Even at this time, their training showed itself. The soldiers that had been thrown about by the explosion climbed back up on their feet and did not hesitate to charge into the flames. Everyone was moved by this scene. Abyss Jail Battalion was truly elite. At this time, something suddenly happened. Boom! Among the flames, a blinding bloody red pillar of light as straight as a sword shot into the sky. The pillar was a zhang thick and reached into the clouds. Even the flames could not disguise its light. Sword essence. Such strong sword essence. Sangdong stopped moving. He raised his face, and his bestial face couldn't help but show some threads of fear. The bloody red pillar of light was like a great sword with all of its edges. It seemed as though it was about to pierce through the sky. A powerful sword essence that caused everything to lose color. Countless blinding sword energies roamed around the pillar of flight. Even the flames were cut into pieces by the terrifying sharp sword energies. That person. Sangdong had never thought that someone else would make him feel such a terrifying pressure in this world. He had only experienced pressure of this level from Chief Elder. Inside the pillar of light, a figure holding a sword floated out. Wei Sheng. For the great majority of people, they had heard of this name a long time ago but never met him in person. Mo Cloud sees Wei Sheng, one of the strongest people in the world, the strongest sword xiao outside of Kunlun. He was a legend. Only someone as strong as him would have such a presence. Yet at this time, the members of Tianhuan did not have the time to savor this. They all changed expression. Every person had a feeling that Wei Sheng was looking at them. Those that were slightly weak thought that they had been locked onto by a mountainous presence. Only Sangdong and the others knew that this was an illusory feeling caused by the pressure the other gave off. Yet their expressions were still ugly. This showed just how terrifying a level Wei Sheng's strength reached. Among the pillar of bloody light, Wei Sheng slowly lifted the god-killing blood sword in his hand. Almost instantly, the sharp red pillar of light started to gather towards Wei Sheng's sword. It gave onlookers the feeling that the pillar of light was contracting and collapsing. When the last bit of light was absorbed into the sword, the bloody sword seemed to glow a fiery red, and gave off eerie bright light. So bright people could not look directly at it. The strong killing essence that had been roaming through the air seemed to have been sucked into the sword in Wei Sheng's hand. However, this did not lessen the pressure people felt. The eerie feeling of emptiness gave people a sense the next attack would be like a storm. In the air, Wei Sheng suddenly opened his eyes that were like bloody glass reflected the world. His wrist shook lightly, and he made a strike. A blinding bloody red sword energy suddenly lit up in people's vision. All the light in the world seemed to be stolen by this stroke. The flames that were burning fiercely in the camp silently extinguished under this strike. The majority of the Abyss Jail Battalion that were standing in the flames had wide eyes. They were unable to react. The target of Wei Sheng's strike was Chief Elder. Chief Elder raised his head, his expression as aloof as usual. He pointed a finger and drew in the air. Bright rays of light that were as slender as spiderwebs exploded from his fingertip. The packed rays of light grew like vines and expanded rapidly in all directions. Shinglyph. Zhuo Mo's pupils couldn't help but contract again. What was growing from Chief Elder's fingertip was a shinglyph. Heavens! What was this? It was the first time Zhuo Mo saw a person able to draw out a shinglyph in the air. Zhuo Mo gaped. It was hard for him to even draw it out in his mind, much less in the air. A shinglyph manifested in the air. The moment the shinglyph took form, thunder roared, and black clouds formed as though it was the apocalypse. The bloody red sword energy that Wei Sheng had created clashed with the shinglyph. The shinglyph shook lightly with a hum. Suddenly, light rose. The sword light penetrated the thick cloud layer above. The lightning that had been moving in the clouds seemed to find a way to vent. Dozens of bolts of lightning the thickness of arms struck Wei Sheng's sword energy. The sword energy that flashed with eerie energy struggled for a moment before shattering. The Shin glyph was still growing. The vine-like rays of light continued to grow. They grew along Chief Elder's body. Rays of light continued to grow into Chief Elder's body. There wasn't any hint of pain on Chief Elder's face. In a blink, Chief Elder was wrapped in layers by the Shin glyph, his figure indistinct. The thunder in the sky was even louder, thick lightning striking the Shin glyph. However, those thin rays of light seemed to be able to consume lightning and didn't change at all. Wei Xing changed expression. His strike just now had almost been at his peak power after gathering his power, yet it could not do anything to the enemy. So strong. Wei Xing looked closely at Chief Elder wrapped up in the Shin glyph. He could feel the other's gaze had landed on him. Wei Xing did not feel any fear, but felt as though his spirit was burning inside his body. How fortunate to encounter such a powerful opponent. Zhuo Mo was also greatly shocked. He had never thought that someone's skill with Shin glyphs could reach such a terrifying level. Eldest Shixiang's last strike, which he had accumulated power for, was something he was already stunned by. Yet that astounding blow could not affect the enemy at all. The difference between the two was immediately seen. The time did not allow him to think further. This battle today would determine Mo Cloud C's fate. Zhuo Mo took a deep breath, his fighting spirit reaching a peak. He shouted angrily, "Kill!" He led the charge towards Chief Elder, Ague followed close behind. Everyone else flew downwards, each of them searching for an opponent. A battle of this level was not something they could participate in. The seats and ring masters on the ground were their targets. The battle immediately became a deadlock. This was the largest battle of experts since the sky-splitting calamity. On this small battlefield were almost all the experts of Tianhuan and Mo Cloud C. The Abyss Jail Battalion were being squeezed out of this battle. Their strength was not effective in a battle of this level. The reverberations of every collision between these experts were unendurable for cultivators of their level. It had nothing to do with resolve. The density of experts in this little camp reached an astounding level. The battle was fierce, waves of air that were as hard as steel raking the ground repeatedly like a plow. Any large rocks were shattered and then pulverized to dust. The constant explosions did not stop. There was only one place in the entire camp that was so silent there was no sound. The center of the camp. In the sky above the camp, 3 figures formed a triangle that surrounded the Chief Elder wrapped up in the Shin glyph. The 4 people faced off like this without a word. Zhuo Mo's Shin power rippled. The Shin equipment he wears could not tolerate Sun Shin power of this intensity. It turned into a drops of fire and fell from Zhuo Mo's body. Zhuo Mo's upper body was bare to the air. There seemed to be a layer of golden liquid over his body. His dark gold muscles were clearly defined and filled with strength. Dark gold sun glyphs floated up in his eyes. He seemed magnificent and indifferent. The chain mark on Agui's forehead gave off faint light. The purple energy in her eyes were so dense it was almost tangible. There was a faint layer of purple flames over the gray crystal-like, undying ghost, wrapped around her body. The flames burned silently. She seemed to be hidden in deep darkness. She was floating there, but one was unable to lock onto her actual location. Wei Xing still stood just like before. The god-killing blood sword in his hand was like beast with its great maw open as it panted. Breath, hiss, breath, hiss. The strange breathing carried soul-shaking power. Only Wei Xing could clearly feel the blood sword in his hand had become excited. It was clear that the enemy in front of him made it feel interested. A powerful bloodthirsty impulse rose from the depths of his mind and attacked Wei Xing's mind. Wei Xing's mind did not show any weakness. His hand tightly gripped the excited and restless god-killing blood sword. The great vicious sword in his hand could not affect his mind at all. His gaze was tightly locked onto Chief Elder shrouded in the impenetrable Shin glyph. Chapter 836, Lil Fire Chief Elder praised, Mo Cloud Sea is really full of tigers and dragons, Tianhuan has tens of thousands of disciples yet there is just one that is at Xian Air's level. I hadn't expected Mo Cloud C to have more than 3. Even this old man is jealous. Zwa Mo said with a snicker, why be jealous? If Chief Elder comes to Mo Cloud C, to say of nothing else, you can pick your position. Also, Chief Elder's Shin Glyph study will definitely be spread far and wide. Zwa Mo's tone was teasing, yet his expression was still cold and authoritative. It gave people a strange feeling of dissonance. Chief Elder shook his head and laughed. Mr. Zwa is really funny. After today, Mo Cloud C will turn from prosperity into stagnation and decline. The future is not as bright as Tian Huan. If you will join Tian Huan, I am willing to abdicate the position of Chief Elder. Zwa Mo sighed softly. I have always admired people of Grandmaster level like Chief Elder, and never thought that I would face one in battle. We really have to sigh at fate. This one was thinking that if Tian Huan lost the Chief Elder, lost Li Xian Heir, then what would it be like? Both sides were smiling as they spoke as though they were lamenting over fate. Yet their words were blades as they used their speech to put the other under greater pressure. Chief Elder laughed. Mr. Zwa is right, today's battle is about the fate of us both. If I die, Tian Huan will decline, and if Mr. Zwa dies, Mo Cloud C will be defeated without any need to attack. Mr. Zwa is too confident, you should not have come yourself. This old man does not think of returning alive today, Mr. Zwa, do not have hopes. Zwa Mo said amusedly with a dark expression. Anyone can speak the words, if there aren't 1,000 people that wants yes life, there's at least 800. Old man, if you are able, come. Yes, waiting. The presence on the two sides continued to rise. At this time, everyone knew that speech was unable to affect their enemy. Both sides had strong resolve. This was fated to be a battle where only one side would be left standing. Wei Xing's gaze was as sharp as a sword. He held the god-killing blood sword, streaks of blood covering it. The air seemed to be filled with the tang of blood. Fighting spirit burned inside his body. The Chief Elder surpassed everyone he had ever met in strength. If he could survive the battle today, he would be able to advance another step on the path of the sword. He had reached the border of a breakthrough by struggling in the killing essence sea of the god-killing blood sword. Suddenly, he knew that the battle in front of him was his chance to have a breakthrough. The blood in his body seemed to pulse with the bestial breathing of the god-killing blood sword. Wei Xing's emotions calmed and he suddenly spoke, "Shitty, let me try." Zwa Mo was slightly shocked. However, when he saw eldest Shixiang's clear gaze, he immediately understood. Eldest Shixiang wanted to use this battle to prove his sword path. For some reason, Zwa Mo was filled with emotion. Eldest Shixiang was forever faithful to his heart, he persisted in his sword path, never knowing fear, and not fearing hardship. Shixiang, be careful. Zwa Mo did not waste words. While he knew it was dangers, he knew Shixiang's resolve when he saw Shixiang's determined gaze. This was the devoutness of a man, who had once been a lowly sword servant, to the sword. There was no heated reverence, only silent persistence. Not immersed in power, not pursuing power above all else, from beginning to end, persisting in pursuing the path of his sword. To the sword, to the heart. This was his philosophy, this was his pursuit. Looking at eldest Shixiang standing tall, Zwa Mo suddenly thought of the jade scroll that eldest Shixiang had given him back at Wukong Mountain. The steely words inside, wasn't that Wei Xing Shixiang's belief? Zwa Mo was full of admiration. In this era where killing was a daily occurrence and people only spoke of benefits, the number of people like Shixiang that only pursued the belief in their hearts was so small it was almost negligible. Wei Xing slowly raised the blood sword in his hand. Chief Elder shook his head. Little child, you are not a match for this old man. I know, Wei Xing said gravely. However, if I do not try, I will never know some things. Chief Elder was silent for a moment before saying, it is fortunate that you are not a disciple of Kunlun. Wei Xing did not ask what Chief Elder meant. His Shin power rippled as it was channeled to the limits. His gaze was grave, and the upraised god-killing blood sword stabbed towards Chief Elder. Without any flourish, no variation, just like a disciple that had just started to learn the sword, a simple and basic stab. That this most basic and simple stab was filled with unparalleled beauty and balance. It was as though all the light in the world was attracted by this simple movement. The god-killing blood sword in Wei Sheng's hand gave out a seemingly joyful hum. This unique hum seemed to pass into the depths of the ground. The camp under them started to tremble lightly. The people that were fighting on the ground looked in shock at Wei Sheng in the sky with astounded gazes. Not just the ground, even the sky was trembling slightly at the same rhythm. The entire area was shaking. This light vibration was strange. It could easily permeate the body. Those that were slightly weak felt dizzy, and those that were stronger had expressions of terror. A blood-red sword energy that was not dazzling moved towards Chief Elder at a seemingly slow speed. Chief Elder's eyes brightened and he couldn't resist praising, "Great strike. Without any adornment. On the true path of the sword." He had a sufficient prediction of Wei Sheng's strength and hadn't expected that this simple male gave him such a great shock. This strike was not as blinding as Wei Sheng's previous move, but it was a level above. Facing such a sword strike, he did not dare to be overconfident. He took a deep breath, the minuscule changes of the world passing to his mind through the Shin glyph. A feeling of everything in the world was in his control formed. Sky open. A low shout came from the Shin glyph-covered figure. Zhuo seemed to feel something. He raised his head to look at the sky and his pupils suddenly contracted. The sky rippled and soon, the ripples became stronger, and the sky seemed to boil. This was... Zhuo gaped. The boiling sky suddenly became dark. A vast starry sky appeared above his head. The stars were moved. This great power that only existed in the legends actually occurred in front of him. The two sides that had been fighting below paled and unconsciously stopped fighting. At this time, several pinpoints of light appeared. These lights came rapidly and was in front of them in a blink. Boom! In the sky, countless bright flames appeared like rain. Void sky Li fire! Pu Yao exclaimed from within Zhuo sea of consciousness. His next sentence almost caused Zhuo to pause. Quick, throw Lil fire out. Throw Lil fire out. Zhuo was confused by Pu Yao's nonsensical words, but he reacted quickly. When he heard Pu Yao's tone, he knew Pu was confident. He knew of the void sky Li fire, a very powerful Shin fire. The rumors said it only existed in the depths of the void, floating in the void as it silently burned for tens of thousands of years. Was this? There was no time to think now. Pia, Lil Fire appeared on Zhuo's hand. Of all the little ones, Lil Fire and Lil Black were all guys that did not have any abilities to fight. Lil Black contributed because it had the ability to find treasure. Until now, Lil Fire's only use was to act as Little Mo Guess Fire's sprouting stress ball when he was not in a good mood. The recent travels had been dangerous and Zhuo had been afraid of something happening to Lil Fire, so he had kept Lil Fire safe in the ring. Lil Fire ended up having a deep sleep in the ring, and its body became even rounder. When Lil Fire appeared on Zhuo's hand, it was sleeping happily. Zhuo glanced and, snap snap snap, he worked his hand. Lil Fire's body changed shape. It dazedly opened its eyes. Seeing it was Zhuo harassing him again, it was about to close its eyes again with an expression of contentment. It appeared as though it would allow Zhuo to do as he pleased. In any case, it could sleep even while Zhuo poked and squeezed him like this. Zhuo saw this and shouted, "Good son, wake up, go." Finishing, he threw Lil Fire towards the void sky Li Fire in the air. The howling flow of air blew Lil Fire's soft and bouncy body in waves. So bothersome. If you want to squeeze, just squeeze. I was sleeping so well, and finally did not need to spend energy to keep away the demon of sleep. I have given you great face already. Ooh, this is, ah. Aha. What is this? Lil Fire opened its eyes and was stunned. Why, after just a nap, the world became so so terrifying. It was cowardly to start with. The scene in front of it frightened it to almost turning and fleeing. Yet before it could react, the first wisp of void sky-lee fire came in front of it. Pew! The void sky-lee fire entered Lil Fire's round body, and Lil Fire's round body froze. An unprecedented feeling of satisfaction rose from its body. A warm flow spread through its entire body. This unparalleled feeling of contentment was like the most delicious food in the world that intoxicated it. The void sky-lee fire that was summoned out of the endless void were like sharks that smelt blood and leapt towards Lil Fire. Pew pew pew. The void sky-lee fire entered Lil Fire's round body like rain. Lil Fire seemed to be continuously hit, its body shaking violently like dies. Its drunken expression froze on its face, on its body. With every wisp of void sky-lee fire that entered Lil Fire's body, Lil Fire would grow slightly. The amount of void sky-lee fire that Chief Elder had summoned was in the thousands of wisps. In a blink, Lil Fire's body was 10 times as large as before. It was like an inflated balloon. Its color was even brighter, it was red and extremely cute. Every wisp of void sky-lee fire was like a current of warmth that spread through its body. One wisp after another rushed towards it, Lil Fire was unable to react. Such a beautiful feeling. Why did good fortune come so suddenly, but, so it felt so full. Lil Fire, who had just felt that the world had become terrifying upon opening its eyes, was completely knocked senseless by the void sky-lee fire that came from the sky. If it could sleep with this beautiful feeling of being full, everything would be perfect. The still dazed Lil Fire thought so, completely ignoring the countless upraised faces gaping at it from below. Chapter 837 Chief Elder Burning's Mo gaped as he looked up towards the supersized Lil Fire that had expanded exponentially. That was void sky-lee fire. The void sky-lee fire that was said to burn for tens of thousands of years in the depths of space. Even Mo didn't dare to carelessly touch the void sky-lee fire. The Shin fire of the sun was powerful and dominant. If one cultivated it to a high level, maybe the Shin fire at the heart of the sun could be stronger than the void sky-lee fire. After all, didn't the sun burn for longer than tens of thousands of years? But the sun Shin fire inside Mo's body at the moment was not as strong as these void sky-lee flames. Yet Lil Fire was able to consume void sky-lee fire. While Mo had a feeling after hearing Pu Yao's words, seeing this with his own eyes still gave him a fright. Goodness, it seemed that none of his sons were lacking. Mo couldn't help but feel proud. Chief Elder's gaze became one of disbelief. This balloon-like thing was able to swallow void sky-lee fire. Other people may not know the power of the void sky-lee fire, but how could he not? When he was able to summon the void sky-lee fire out of the depths of space, he spent great energy in the hopes that he could tame the void sky-lee fire for his own use. The void sky-lee fire came from the deepest parts of the void and was one of the few Shin fires in the universe. Yet no matter how he tried, he could not tame the void sky-lee fire. The void sky-lee fire had many traits of the void, yet its fire was extremely fierce. He had tested it. No matter what he used, anything that touched even the tiniest bit of void sky-lee fire would be burned into ash and then into emptiness. Chief Elder thought of all the different ways to tame it, but came up with no solution. He could only use it as a killing move. So when he saw the round Lil Fire was able to consume thousands of wisps of void sky-lee fire, he was dumbstruck. Because Lil Fire was too fat and round, Chief Elder did not recognize what Lil Fire was. However, one thing was undoubtedly true, a beast that was able to swallow void sky-lee fire was definitely a rare beast. As expected, Mo had countless trump cards. Chief Elder's gaze landed unconsciously on Mo. This youth that did not look very special became even harder to measure in his eyes. Yet he had no time to think. Without the void sky-lee fire, Wei Xing's strike had now arrived in front of him. Chief Elder's study of Shin glyphs had reached the peak. While something unexpected had occurred, he was still confident in blocking this attack. The void on top of his head disappeared to become the thick cloud layer again. Lightning. Hiss crack, the entire cloud layer seemed to be woken up. Countless silver snakes danced and the sky became a bright white. The shin glyphs around the chief elder suddenly lit up. Boom om om. A bolt of lightning the thickness of an arm came from the sky and accurately landed on Wei Xing's sword energy. Boom om om. In a flash, dozens of bolts of lightning landed on Wei Xing's sword energy. Wei Xing's sword energy was destroyed with a snap by the dozen bolts of lightning. Chief Elder sighed in relief. The sword energy had been 100 zhang away from him, but it was still extremely dangerous. Truthfully, he had not underestimated Wei Xing, which was why he had started off with Void Sky Leaf Fire, but he hadn't expected the move to be defeated so easily. While the lightning had blocked the sword energy, Chief Elder knew he had lost the initiative. As expected, Wei Xing's second sword energy had already reached him. A sword energy seemed exactly the same as the one before, gave off a heart-shaking light hum. But this was clearly stronger than before, and the blood-colored sword energy was even more tangible. Chief Elder's pupils suddenly contracted, and his gaze became serious. There was a thin layer of darkness on the edges of the blood-red sword. Those that were slightly careless would have a hard time finding it. However, Chief Elder knew the feeling of this thin layer of darkness too well. The endless void. Wei Xing had manifested the endless void in his sword essence. He was astounded. Boom! The lightning in the clouds landed constantly on the sword energy. Yet these powerful lightning bolts disappeared without a trace when they touched the sword energy. The sword energy was unharmed. That thin layer of darkness was like a bottomless hole. All of the lightning was sucked inside. As expected, Chief Elder knew that his guess had been right. This youth shocked him. This was a strong person to reach such a level at such a young age. Chief Elder was full of emotion. Mo Cloud Sea was so full of vitality that Kunlun was probably the only one that could rival it. He felt slight envy. This thread of envy only swirled in his mind for a moment before disappearing to be replaced by great murderousness. If these genius youths really grew their wings, it would be the end of Tianhuan. Only now, when these youths had not finished their transformation, killing them would guarantee Tianhuan's future. The Chief Elder did not feel any more affection for that youthful talent, only tangible killing intent. He grew up in Tianhuan from childhood, and his love for Tianhuan was deep in his bones. If only opportunities could come from sacrifice, if only the future could come from sacrifice, if only sacrifice could awaken Tianhuan's resolve and fighting spirit, then use his blood. For Tianhuan. Chief Elder raised his head, his gaze becoming steel. Age seemed to be far from him in this moment. In this moment, he thought back to the years where he had been full of spirit, when he had been together with his fellow disciples, recalling the oaths that they had all sworn to each other, to protect Tianhuan. Those unfamiliar yet familiar faces were a distant memory now. He was the only one still living. The oaths of the past seemed to ring in his ear. In the wild wind, the emaciated Chief Elder straightened just like when he had been young. Surging presence spread without restraint like water coming out of a dam. He was like a burning ball of flame, so bright people could not look straight at him. Inside the Shin glyph, Chief Elder pointed towards the sword energy flying towards him. Hiss! 3 slender bright rays of light reached out of the Shin glyph and furiously grew in the direction of the sword energy. They wove around each other at a lightning-fast speed. Only Zhuo Mo could see clearly the structure the 3 rays of light wove in the air was a certain script. The 3 rays of light were too fast, and looked like one ray. Snap! The ray of light accurately hit the sword energy. What astounded Zhuo Mo even more was that the ray of light quickly wrapped around the sword energy like a vine. They wove in a profound pattern hard to describe. The endless void that could consume all was securely restrained by those slender rays. In a blink, the rays of light had bound the sword energy. Snap! The sword energy and the rays around the sword energy exploded in unison. Yet the snapped rays of light did not seem to be affected, and darted towards Wei Xing. Wei Xing was dazzled. Chief Elder's attacks almost didn't have any patterns. He used all kinds of Shen glyphs and seal scripts to their limits. He had mastery of them, and the variations were profound. Before this, he had never thought that seal scripts and Shen glyphs could be used like this. If he was looking at the battle as a bystander, he probably couldn't help but sigh in praise. Yet he was fighting the other. If this was a person that had slightly weaker resolve, they probably could not avoid feeling fear at the chief elder's unpredictable moves. Wei Xing didn't feel any fear. His personality was strong, the greater the hardship, the stronger he became. Taking a deep breath, he lowered his eyes slightly. He hadn't thought that he would use this move so soon. He knew that Chief Elder was stronger than him, and he had been prepared for the hardship of this battle. However, he still hadn't thought that he would have to use his ultimate move so soon. The god-killing blood sword in his hand seemed to feel Wei Xing's fighting spirit and became even more restless. The thick tang of blood spread from the sword. Wei Xing's surroundings seemed tinged by blood. The thick and terrifying color of blood spread outwards at a rapid speed. In a blink, everyone seemed to be inside a bloody hell. The sky was dyed by blood, the ground was lifeless, bone-aching killing essence was mixed in the wind that completely chilled the bones. The peerless vicious sword that had existed for tens of thousands of years finally showed its glory. Wei Xing's expression became grave, his bloody glass-like eyes without the ease and calm of before, but was a blood sea that was surging. Snap snap snap. The blood-colored wave of air exploded outwards with Wei Xing at the center. All the rays of light that came towards them snapped along their lengths. Chief Elder's expression didn't even shift at such a scene. When the vicious bloody wave of air came in front of him, he didn't even move a finger. The wave of air suddenly crumbled and disappeared as though it hits the beach. Chief Elder's gaze was burning. He was burning Shen power without any regard for the price. The Shen glyph around his body was truly perfect for the first time. A perfection that only existed in theory was actually able to be realized. An unprecedented feeling of strength filled his body. Everyone in the world was within his grasp. He could detect the strength of Wei Xing, he was stronger than before. The presence given off by the blood sword was like the vast and vicious presence of an ancient wasteland beast. If it had been a moment before, he would be shocked, but now, he didn't feel any surprise. Because he was even stronger. Not just the power of Wei Xing's blood sword, even if the three fought together, even if everyone else attacked together, he did not fear them. The entire world was in his grasp. Shen glyphs, that was the true path of heaven. If the Shen glyph was perfect, it could control a jia, it could form a jia, it was omnipotent, it was invincible. What he had pursued for a lifetime had finally been realized by his own hands today. A feeling of joy came from the depths of his heart. This perfect Shen glyph had reached its tentacles into every corner of this jia. Every minuscule change in this jia appeared in his mind. In this jia, he was the true master. The legend said that the strongest of the ancient era could destroy the word, pick moon, and move stars. At this moment, he finally stepped into that legendary level. He could not restrain his laughter at the joy in his heart. Ha ha ha. His laughter was not loud, yet it passed into every corner of this jia in a moment. The entire jia could hear it. Zuo and Sing Lianer's expression changed at the same time. The two had complete Shen power inheritances. They knew what this was. Even among the ancients, there were not many that had reached this level. The level of a god. Chapter 838, I am the king of Mo Cloud Sea. Zuo and Sing Lianer exchanged a look and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The realm of a deity. How many years had it been since someone so strong had appeared? Just the power that Chief Elder showed right now was not something that a person could defeat. The legend said that those who stepped into this level would easily destroy or lock down a jia. Terrifying. Zuo, who never feared anything, couldn't stop a threat of terror from rising right now. The Chief Elder's emaciated figure seemed to take over the entire sky and gave people a feeling of great pressure. Even eldest Shixiang's presence that increased constantly paled in comparison. In the opposite of the shock on Zuo Mo's side, Tian Huan's members were overjoyed. They looked at Chief Elder in the air and wanted to kneel and worship. Wei Xing could also feel the strength of the enemy. Previously, he was able to lock onto the other's presence. At present, Chief Elder appeared just the same as before, but he found that no matter how hard he tried, he could not lock onto Chief Elder's body. Chief Elder seemed to be one with the world and showed no traces. The god-killing blood sword in his hand furiously trembled. It furiously trembled as though it was trying to break free of Wei Xing's hand. But Wei Xing's hand was like rock, motionless. He could feel that the endless ocean of blood inside the god-killing blood sword was roaring angrily, the entire ocean rippling, the waves thousand of zhang high. The world inside the sword had completely come alive. Under the stimulation of a god-level power, the god-killing blood sword was completely infuriated. It was like a bloodthirsty and vicious monster that was provoked. It had drank the blood of countless great warriors and would not fear a god-level expert. How could it fear? Wei Xing raised the god-killing blood sword and held it across his body. He murmured towards the sword, "Are you also unwilling?" Virum. The light of the sword suddenly exploded. Wei Xing's vision was covered by endless bloody light. The bloody light shot straight into the sky. Within the blood light, Wei Xing saw countless scenes. An ordinary sword was bathed by the blood of the fallen warriors, and started to gain a thread of intelligence. Fighting, killing, and drinking blood. The cycle repeated and it became stronger and stronger. Blood made it greedy, blood made it cruel and savage. It liked the taste of the power in the blood, it liked strength, it liked winning and bathing in blood after winning. It had changed hands many times, it had been sealed, it had faced destruction. It never knew fear, it never bowed its head, it was savage and bloodthirsty, it never cared to be acknowledged by others, it was proud and rebellious. God-killing blood sword. This name was its glory, and it also gave it a soul. After that, God-killing became its destiny, one god-level warrior after another slain and drained of their blood. A loneliness of tens of thousands of years, it was like a monster sleeping. Wei Xing's astounding resolve finally received its acceptance. It woke up from its deep sleep, but it looked down on the fights. When Kunlun's immemorial sword finally appeared again, it was completely awakened. The desire to fight once again caused it to show its hidden edges, edges hidden for thousands of years. Today, it countered the first god-level warrior in 10,000 years, it shook, it was excited, it was furious. The desire and greed after a sleep of 10,000 years completely exploded. You are also not willing. Wei Xing's words suddenly pulled her to that great and magnificent ancient era. Its glory. The power that had slept for 10,000 years, its rebelliousness, its fighting spirit, it exploded like a volcano. Willing? No. How could it be willing? A vicious shout exploded in Wei Xing's mind. God-killing. Just these two words made it excited. He felt the bone-aching killing intent from the sword and the desire of the blood sword over 10,000 years. Wei Xing said in a deep voice, "If that's the case, then let us fight together." Boiling hot blood flowed from the hilt of the sword into Wei Xing's body like burning lava. Wei Xing did not refuse. He knew the fight this time was a matter of life and death, not just for him, but for Zhuai Mo and the others. Chief Elder that was at the peak of his power definitely had the goal of killing all of Mo Cloud C's experts. If all the experts here were killed by Chief Elder, Mo Cloud C would immediately crumble. This was not the time to spar, but to fight for life. The blood that burrowed into his blood contained wild power. This was a mixture of countless god-level experts mixed together. After settling for tens of thousands of years, the power contained did not lessen one bit, but had merged together to become even stronger. For the present Wei Xing, the blood that contains savage but terrifying power was a great poison. But at this time, Wei Xing did not refuse. Usually, he was willing to struggle in the blood sea to temper and comprehend his sword essence and was unwilling to accept this power. What he aimed for was the way of the sword, and not strength. He wanted to see the extreme of the sword. Yet at this time, they were forced to a precipice. The difference in power between the two sides was too great. He had never thought that the chief elder would burn himself without regard for the consequences. There was only one result from doing this, all of his power collapsing. But chief elder would be able to kill all of them before his power disappeared. He allowed the burning hot blood to circulate furiously through his body. The strong feeling of burning produced in an instant almost destroyed his resolve. Wei Xing made a muffled grunt, and his straight body shook. Beads of blood seeped out of pores all over his body, forming a layer of blood from head to toe. The sticky blood moved along his body. Zhuo Mo's eyes were filled with shock. He had expected that this battle would be hard, but hadn't expected for it to be so hard. Chief Elder's strength did not shock him. What did shock him was Chief Elder's resolve. This was the part where he had guessed wrong. He hadn't thought that Chief Elder was willing to die with them. This was an old man worthy of admiration. Zhuo Mo looked at the thin figure in the sky. In everyone's eyes, this thin figure was unusually vast now. This person who would give up his life for Tianhuan was worthy of the respect of the world. No one had thought that when the previous experts of the world had declined due to the renewal of the power system, one had not declined with them. The chief elder was the only top expert that stood at the peak of the world in both eras, and he was still at the top in the era of Shen power. He had spent decades in seclusion to create Tianhuan's Shen glyph art. Even if they were enemies now, Zhuo Mo respected chief elder. So powerful. But right now, Zhuo Mo did not have the time to reflect. It was a time of life and death. His gaze as he looked into the sky quickly became twisted. Became vicious. If they could not stop Chief Elder, everyone would die here. No one would be able to escape. The strength of the two sides were not on the same level. Everyone would die. This conclusion battered at Zhuo Mo's mind. His gaze swept across Chief Elder, his body couldn't help but shake, the blood flooding into his head. Eldest Shixiang was going all out. No. No. His dazed gaze swept across Ague, Silly Bird, Zheng Lianer, Zhong Ru. He had said he would protect Ague, he had said he would protect everyone. The one putting his life on the line should be him. This was his duty. These two sentences echoed in Zhuo Mo's mind. His eyes quickly became bloodshot. Zhuo Mo's head was lowered as he spoke to himself, as though he was sleep-talking, the one putting their life on the line should be me. This is my duty. He repeated firmly, yes, it should be my life, this is my duty. I want to protect Ague. I want to protect everyone. I want to protect Mo Cloud Sea. His voice was like steel. He raised his head, blood spread through his eyes in spider webs. He suddenly spread his arms and shouted with all of his strength. I am the king of Mo Cloud Sea. 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 The echo of his shout echoed in the clouds and across the battlefield. Zhuo Mo's bloodshot eyes stared at Chief Elder without any respect or terror. What was there was only burning fighting spirit and resolve. His hidden resolve drowned his mind like a flood. Come. Old man. Zhuo Mo bared his teeth. His body gave off countless golden flames. He furiously channeled his Shen power and also urged on the Sun Shen crystal. The Sun Shen crystal still revolved slowly, the essence of the sun dripping out of it and entering Zhuo Mo's body. Zhuo Mo was filled with power, and his Shen power became wild and dangerous. Old man, you think you're the only one willing to burn. Zhuo Mo's Shen power started to burn like a fire. Come. Old man. Zhuo Mo gritted out with a twisted expression. His eyes were filled with blood, he seemed to be mad. The burning Shen power was a fire that raged through his body, causing the flames of his body to grow greatly. The burning Sun Shen power burned fiercely. He was like the sun in the sky shining down brightly. No. Not enough. This wasn't enough. The Shen power in his body was already burning to its limits. The only thing he could get more power from was the sun crystal seed, but no matter how he pushed the sun crystal seed, it still revolved slowly. You damned ball. Quicker. Damn it. Zhuo Mo's remaining composure told him that the present him was still not as powerful as Chief Elder. Not enough. Still not enough. Urgency caused Zhuo Mo to become reckless. He furiously channeled his burning Shin power to batter at the sun crystal steed. He could not let a Gui die. He could not let everyone die. No. Not even if he died. Zhuo Mo completely disregarded everything else, these words the only ones in his mind. The sun crystal seed was still slowly spinning. It had increased in speed but it could not satisfy his need. At the end of his tether, Zhuo Mo was like a furious lion. He did not use his Shin power to urge on the sun crystal seed but used his burning Shin power to furiously attack the sun crystal seed. Power. I want more power. The Shin power inside his body attacked at an astounding rate. A crack finally appeared on the surface of the sun crystal seed. Completely berserk, Zhuo Mo didn't stop and attacked the sun crystal seed with his Shin power even more crazily. The crack gradually grew bigger. Snap! The sun crystal seed suddenly shattered. Chapter 839, A Reason to Fight, I'm the King of Mo Cloud Sea. I'm the King of Mo Cloud Sea. Chief Elder did not hear the echoing voice. Chief Elder was extremely excited. He had stepped into the level of a god, it was hard to describe the feeling of mastering everything in the world. This filled his mind. But what drew his attention was not the joy at stepping into god level but Shin power. Because Chief Elder suddenly found that everything in the world was in his control, even the burning Shin power inside his body was in his control. The mysteries that had been hard to comprehend were clear in his mind, countless rules of the world flowed through his mind. Many mysteries he had been puzzled by were now clear. A completely new level, a completely new vision. His mind suddenly shifted and he once again reviewed his body. Countless new sensations appeared in his mind. His mind moved and the Shin glyph inside his body silently changed. The furiously burning Shin power stabilized quickly. Yes, stabilize. Moments ago his Shin power had been uncontrollably burning, it was now stable without any of the previous feeling of being out of control. As the Shin glyph stabilized, his wounded body was repaired. At the same time, the impurities in his blood and flesh were quickly refined by his burning Shin power. His blood, flesh, sinews were recombined again to form a strange Shin glyph. A glyph using his body. An unprecedented feeling of strength filled every part of his body. So this was how it was. So this was how it was. If Chief Elder didn't know what was going on now, then he wasn't the Chief Elder. Great joy spread through his mind. He looked at the world that had completely changed, he cried in joy. Who would have thought that the key to entering God level was burning Shin power? He had searched for this crucial step for so many years. He had managed to stumble onto this after deciding to sacrifice himself. Only by burning Shin power could he break through the restraints of power and step into God level. There had only been fragmented records of God level. Most of them spoke about how powerful and strong those warriors were, but never anything tangible. Chief Elder didn't know what God level was like. As the only remaining top fighter from the era of Ling power, the foundations he had accumulated were so deep that few could compare. He was only one step away from God level. Yet that step had seemed so far away. Only when he truly stepped into God level did he understand the great power of God level and the feeling of everything in the world in his control. In this brief while, all of the damage caused by burning his Shin power had been repaired. His cultivation quickly stabilized. His body became even stronger. He only needed a bit more time and he would become even more powerful. Because he knew how to have his Shin power grow quickly. God level, this was a dividing line. Only God-level experts could count as the top-tier Shin power experts. No wonder Chief Elder cried in joy. He had already prepared himself for sacrifice. He hadn't expected that he didn't need to sacrifice himself. He had become the first god-level expert in 10,000 years. Tian Huan. Tian Huan was now the top power. Entering god level, his longevity would greatly increase and could be more than 3,000 years. He could protect Tian Huan for 3,000 years. For the present, Shen power experts were the strongest strategic fighters. As long as he did not die, even Kunlun would not dare to act against Tian Huan. A god-level expert could restrain and destroy a Jia on their own. The difference between god level and those below god level was an abyss that was uncrossable. It could not be made up by sheer numbers. Just he alone could slaughter this group from Mo Cloud Sea. Ha ha ha. Even a person as serene as Chief Elder couldn't help but roar with laughter. Suddenly, Chief Elder made a surprise sound. His gaze moved from Wei Xing to Zhuo Mo, his pupils expanding. Zhuo Mo's eyes were empty as though his soul was sucked away. Not good. Chief Elder's expression changed slightly. A strong feeling of danger rose. Before he could react, his vision lit up. Boom! A burning pillar of fire shot into the sky from where Zhuo Mo stood. The entire sky seemed to light up, the thick black clouds in the sky igniting like cotton and were quickly burned away by the golden fire. The black night was driven away, and the sun slowly rose. Birdsong suddenly came from within the golden pillar of light. 9 three-footed golden crows flew around the pillar of fire. Inside the pillar of fire, Zhuo Mo's clothing was torn, his body that seemed to be made from golden liquid floating in the pillar. That pair of empty eyes stared at Chief Elder. Astounding fire exploded out of Zhuo Mo's body. All of the fire in this pillar of fire had come from Zhuo Mo's body. Such a domineering flame. Such powerful Shen power. Chief Elder's expression changed. The pillar of fire seemed to be like a sun. If it went out of control, this Jia would turn into a sea of fire no one would be able to escape. But then Chief Elder's expression recovered. He did not care if this Jia existed or not. His gaze held slight pity, it really was a pity that a genius like this was fated to die at his hands. Burning his Shen power like this was clearly beyond the limits that Zhuo Mo could tolerate. There would only be one result, burning into dust. They both burned their Shen power. The reason that Chief Elder could enter god level was because he had a foundation built over centuries. Zhuo Mo had not accumulated enough, and burning like this would only lead to his death. But standing out in a time of danger, as expected of the king of Mo Cloud Sea to have such a sense of responsibility. Chief Elder admired Zhuo Mo greatly. If Tian Huan had a disciple like this, he would definitely nurture the other. Pity, he was not a disciple of Tian Huan. Chief Elder completely relaxed. Zhuo Mo was fated to die. The greatest threat to Tian Huan was finally resolved. Having lost Zhuo Mo, even if Mo Cloud Sea didn't have to face Tian Huan, they would still end up collapse due to internal conflicts. Chief Elder was filled with confidence in his strength. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Young master. Ague stared at the flaming figure and her eyes could not move away. She did not hesitate. Purple flames climbed onto the bone armor. Silent purple fire gave off astounding presence. The purple fire grew stronger, the presence even more terrifying. Her gaze was locked onto Zhuo Mo, her expression calm, a faint smile on her mouth. She was not panicking, she was not sad, she was not in pain, her eyes seemed to see through the world and were as still as water. No matter what would happen today, she would follow young master. Never abandoning. Even if they died, dying together was still a kind of good fortune. Snap snap snap. The purple chains that represented the undying Shen punishment snapped from the middle. The snapped purple chains burrowed out of Agui's body and wrapped onto the flame-covered purple armor like snakes. The space around her was slowly being swallowed by the purple flames. Endless darkness spread from that small figure restrained and covered in purple flames. Gray and white slowly took over the eyes, but her gaze did not leave the figure within the flames. I'm willing to descend into darkness and be chained, just to be with you. Tseng Lianer looked at the sky. Shock slowly disappeared from her face. The terrifying presence of the four people above almost suffocated her. The Tianhuan disciples could not tolerate such presence and had almost all left the battlefield. The presence was too strong, that presence that was like the world pressing down was suffocating. But Tsing Lianer and the other Mo Cloud Sea experts did not retreat. Staring at Zhua Mo within the fire, Tsing Lianer suddenly smiled. She said to herself, why am I still participating? This guy is about to die. In the future, there will no longer be any paired cultivation. This battle is worthless, there is really no reason. Tilting her head and thinking for a while, Tsing Lianer spoke again, oh, as a Mo, it is the greatest embarrassment to flee the battle. Mo will fight while betting their life. Alright, for the glory of the Mo, this reason is pretty good. There's no more paired cultivation, this old man should die. Oh, this is also a good reason. Mo Cloud Sea's people aren't bad, that guy isn't bad, this reason is also pretty good. Oh, so hard, fine, I'm too lazy to think, these reasons are enough. Tsing Lianer raised her head, and straightened her body. Her dark red dress that was slightly damaged flapped without any wind. She was like the rose in winter. Even at such a dangerous time, her beauty that could turn the world upside down was unable to be dismissed. Tsing Lianer's presence continued to rise. A cool crescent moon appeared behind her back. Snap! The crescent moon snapped into countless pieces that flew into Tsing Lianer's body. Tsing Lianer trembled violently. Her closed eyes and her fluttering long eyelashes showed she was enduring great pain at the moment. Moments later, her body stopped trembling and she calmed. A seductive smile appeared on the corner of her mouth like a winter rose blooming. She opened her eyes, and two crescent moons flashed in them. Zhongru looked into the sky, his gaze like warm sunlight as he smiled softly. That voice which had been determined and grave even in the thunder and wind still seemed to echo in his mind. Zhongru wishes, forsaking the path to Buddhahood, to use this body as a Vajra to protect Darren. A Buddha abandonment death wish with the body of a Vajra, protecting Darren. This sentence had been carved into his heart. He could not watch as Darren sacrificed himself to protect him. Protecting Darren was his duty. Zhongru reached out a thin hand. Circles of sutra characters seemed to wrap onto his arm like bandages. Starting from his fingers, to his arm, to his shoulder, and then his entire body, one circle after another that unraveled and flew out. With the three manifestation treasure staff in hand, Zhongru's expression was dignified as a great presence erupted. Chapter 840, This is Mo Cloud Sea. Woli, it's time to fight for our lives. Luoli smiled helplessly. Alright, Woli acknowledged, her cold and beautiful face unaffected. I might die, you won't even smile for me. Before death, leave a beautiful memory, this way, the sacrifice will have meaning. Luoli complained. It had been a long time since he had seen Woli smile. If we are dead, one will not have memories, Woli said coolly. You're right, so sad. Luoli spread his hands with a distressed expression. Fight! Woli flew up like a sword coming out of its sheath with its naked edges. Other than being able to fight side by side with Woli, which comforts me, there really isn't anything else that I anticipate. This way, Shixiang will definitely scold me for putting women before friends. Luoli muttered to himself. Woli stopped walking. She turned her face and stared at Luo for a long time. Before death, do you have anything to say to me? Luoli had an expression of anticipation. Yes. Woli nodded. Luoli was overjoyed. Quick, speak, speak. Your Shixiang is right. Woli said. Luoli had a dazed expression as he froze where stood. Moments later, he reacted and shook his head as he smiled. He raised his head to look towards Suemo in the sky. He couldn't help but think of the time back at Wukong Mountains. He bullied Shixiang and then was beaten like a dog by Shixiang. Oh, he was actually missing, so embarrassing, oh, Actually, that time where everyone had been in bedrest after the sword test conference, those days had been pretty good. He had never seen them in such a sorry state after that. He thought of how he had cried when he saw Shixiang after all the hardship and being imprisoned by the Mo, so embarrassing. Luo Li gazed at Zhuo Mo. Why do you have to charge at the front? Really, you are usually such a clever person. Really nothing could be done. Alright, since you're charging, then what else can I do? I can't really let Wali say that I put women above friendship, that would be such a loss of face. There seemed to be something burning in his chest. Luo Li suddenly smiled and shouted, Wali. Wali turned her head. Burn. Luo Li said viciously. There was fire burning in the youth's eyes. Wali acknowledged. Another one. Chief Elder was slightly shocked. It was already unexpected that Zhuo Mo was burning Shin power this way. To do something so suicidal requires great courage. But he saw many of these people from Mo Cloud Sea burning their Shin power one after another. This gave him an even greater shock. Don't these people know that they would die? They didn't need to do this. With Wei Sheng and Zhuo Mo, there was a large chance they would stop him. The rest had a great possibility of escaping with their lives. Why were they doing this? Didn't they know that these actions were meaningless? Zhuo Mo was fated to die. Mo Cloud Sea was fated to crumble. Their actions were like moths flying towards the flame, unable to win any chances for them. Chief Elder could understand sacrifice, but he thought that sacrifice needed to have value, needed to have meaning. On this, Kunlun was even more of an extreme. In the eyes of those mad people, they were one part of Kunlun's weight. If needed, they would throw themselves onto the scale to make up the balance. Mo Cloud Sea was an unreasonable group of people. For some reason, Chief Elder suddenly felt a chill. He felt something else from these Mo Cloud Sea people. Unlike the mad obsession of Kunlun. Kunlun's madness came from continuously brainwashing their disciples over a long period of time. Kunlun was a sect that made people shudder. In Kunlun, the individual was forever insignificant. For Kunlun, everyone could be sacrificed, no matter if you were willing or not. This was a ruthlessness that was terrifying. But these people here were not fanatics. You could not feel any madness from them usually. Sacrifice had almost never occurred at Mo Cloud Sea. Chief Elder had always thought that Mo Cloud Sea was a smaller version of Tianhuan. They were like Tianhuan, they cared about profit, just like a group of merchants counting on their fingers every day what they could gain. The rumors said that Zhuo Mo had never done unprofitable business. In Chief Elder's view, Mo Cloud Sea's viciousness was only a method for them to get more profit, just like their cunning. Only now did Chief Elder understand that he was wrong, and ridiculously so. Mo Cloud Sea's similarity with Tianhuan was only on the surface. Only when it was truly a time of life and death could one feel the great difference between the two. Tianhuan were true merchants, Mo Cloud Sea only acted like merchants. They were like a group of wolves. When Zhuo Mo, the wolf leader, decided to sacrifice himself, no one fled, everyone chose the same path. Even if they knew that their choice to follow was not worth much, would not change much, even if they knew that this choice would lead them to all of their deaths. But they still would choose this. Because they had chosen to follow that figure. Chief Elder didn't know how Zhuo Mo had done this. Personal charisma. Benefits. Favor. It was a terrifying ability to unite people. Chief Elder changed expression. He looked at the youth floating in the flames. He didn't know how this youth was able to cause so many people to willingly give up their lives to follow him. Just as he didn't know what gave these people such unity. But he knew that the strength of this kind of power was so great that it could change many things. Tianhuan did not have this power. Tianhuan had lost the power they had originally had. The oaths of his youth, they had scattered in the wind. Looking at the Tianhuan disciples that were panically fleeing, and comparing to these Mo Cloud Sea youths that were furiously burning their lives, a sorrow arose in Chief Elder. Today, He finally knew why Mo Cloud Sea could defeat Tian Huan. Yes, Tian Huan's failure was fated. He finally understood. He didn't have any joy left inside. A sigh echoing in his mind, Chief Elder threw away his stray thoughts. His expression became grave. He decided that he would reconstruct Tian Huan's banner, Tian Huan's soul after this battle. Just like these Mo Cloud Sea youth in front of him, just like those youths who had sworn oaths alongside him. For Tian Huan. For belief. Come. King of Mo Cloud Sea. Chief Elder bowed gravely towards Sui Mo in the fire. In a nondescript corner, many eyes looked at everything happening in the sky. Their expressions were complex. There was shock, respect, pity, murderousness, and relief. Every person around him had some expression of respect on their faces. The people in the sky were worthy of their respect. I hadn't thought that Mo Cloud Sea was so scary. Those people are mad. Fortunately for us, Tian Huan old man has taken this for us. Otherwise, even if we are able to defeat Mo Cloud Sea would be very strong before death. Lin Qian was silent. This battle had given him a great blow. Not just him, the other Kunlun disciples around him were also astounded. Let's first find Zhongde, someone said. Yes, let them burn, while both sides are preoccupied, we will take the opportunity to kill Zhongde. The day that Kunlun unites the land is not far away, another disciple agreed. Everyone nodded. In a battle as intense as this, it was certain both sides would be wounded. Kunlun would become the only beneficiary. This was also when Zhongde's defenses would be weakest. If they could kill Zhongde using this opportunity, Shi Xian would descend into chaos. They had planned this action for a long time. They had used almost all of their power to get here undetected. Their goal was the same as Tian Huan. Assassinate Zhongde. To ensure they could kill with one blow, Lin Qian had come. If Zhongde died, Shi Xian would fall into chaos. Kunlun would take the chance to replace them. They hadn't expected the situation to progress better than they had expected. Tian Huan and Mo Cloud Sea were fighting to such great lengths. The astounding unity that Mo Cloud Sea showed made even Kunlun felt a great pressure. After this battle, there will be no more Mo Cloud Sea. These disciples who had their eyes on top of their heads couldn't help but sigh in relief. Lin Qian nodded. Everyone scatter, be careful not to attract the attention of these people. When you find Zhongde, immediately send a message back. Our target is still Zhongde. This is not the time to relax. Everyone, be alert, do not fail now. Everyone nodded and then disappeared. Lin Qian did not move. He had come because he knew that Zuemo had a large number of experts. Right now, Zuemo and Mo Cloud Sea's experts were completely drawn to Tian Huan Chief Elder. Zhongde's defenses would be at their weakest and they did not need him. His mind was completely drawn into this battle. No one knew that the immemorial Shin sword in his hand was trembling continuously and seemed to resonate with something. So this was Mo Cloud Sea. Zuomo's mind was blank, everything around him golden. He seemed to be struggling in a sea of fire. A long time later, he heard an almost imperceptible murmur. The king of Mo Cloud Sea. This murmur was too weak, so weak it could hardly be heard. But Zuomo heard it. For some reason, he heard it clearly. Yet his mind was not clear. This voice was so familiar. So hot, so painful. Where was this? The king of Mo Cloud Sea. King of Mo Cloud Sea. These words seemed to have a certain power. Zuomo's scattered thoughts gathered along with the words. The king of Mo Cloud Sea. Zuomo could not open his eyes. His eyelids were as heavy as mountains. He felt as though his body was a volcano about to erupt. If he was the least bit careless, he would explode. The king of Mo Cloud Sea. Having recovered some clarity, Zuomo finally found the one who had been sleep-talking was himself. Ha! He had not failed everyone. The emotions that came with the words caused him to feel slightly stronger. Yes. I'm the king of Mo Cloud Sea. I need to be clear-headed. I need to forget. I need to protect Agui. I need to protect everyone. His mind scattered, Mo repeated to himself. His voice was weak but unconsciously grew more and more determined. Power gathered in small streams, his scattered consciousness slowly gathering. He used all of his strength to open his eyes. A thread of light entered his vision. He smiled like a burning flame. Come. Old man.